Okay, so what happened last time? Is we ran away, and the game just ended with the Doctor took over the world and destroyed everybody, and you hid in the mountains, and that was it. We can't wee much, Eli. Listen, I don't need to know about every detail, okay? Oh wait, this is... Okay, we have a Halloween skin applied, I guess, because it's Halloween right now. Almost Halloween right now. That's fun. So this is Kazuma, wearing like a hockey mask.
There was a little man.
There was a little man. I saw the little man. And I think I've got like a zombie thing going on, which I kind of saw and thought, does he always look like that? I don't know if that's right, but it is actually right. So that's fun. I've never seen this before. What we did was here, Kazuma asks us if we want to run away, and we said, yeah, or leave, leave the island. But that's not the right ending, is it? That's not how it really happened. We will continue to fight and explore an adventure to see what happens if we stay on the island. You randomly clicked the little man redeem before he showed up. Amazing timing. Very, very skilled of you. Cece has 0 friends. I'm sorry. No, we're not escaping. I see.
Water and water and water, water.
Truth be told, there is one way you can change the Mimiga back into their original state. Destroy the island's core. But the island may collapse if you do destroy the core. Is it too dangerous a choice for you to make? Either way, I don't know where to find the core. If you really want to try and do it, then I'll wait for you. But I may need to flee the island at any time if it gets too dangerous for me. Oh, door? Outer wall. Dragon. Now, I don't remember what do, if I'm being fully honest. This rings a bell. I remember going up here. Hello? That sure was a guy. Lock room? Why is it all Halloweeny? It won't open. Okay. This is very confusing because I'm not used to the Halloween thing. But I guess we'll have to figure it out as we go. Oh, and the Doritos are now candy corn. Amazing. Whoop! Whoop! Okay. Oh, I thought I could shoot those. Can I not hit you? Big Doritos. Okay. Zero in on these nuts, Oscar. Zero in on these nuts. See what you did there? But unfortunately, because you have 0 Ds and 0 nuts, it doesn't work because I can zero in on what exactly? There's nothing there. Oh, why are there guys here? Ow. Buggers. No proof for your alleged lack of Ds or nuts. Do you want me to check it? Do you want me to make a command where I can check somebody else's Ds? I don't know if you'll like what you find. How are these giant gator things living in this tiny little patch of sand? Seems impractical for them. They really reskinned, like, the whole game. That is wild. Oh. Dedication to the bit. To create a command that tells somebody they have 0 Ds. Is that? Who are you? I'm a human. I was turned into Mimiga by magic. You mean you're not a killer robot? You startled me pretty badly by coming in so suddenly. Are you here to save us? Am I? I guess so. Or reskinning the whole game, yeah. I'm good at this. I'm good at games. I think I'm good at games most of the time. I do fine, but thank you. I certainly get by. Hello. Oh dear. What a bad time this is. Can I maybe kill you? Yeah. Yeah, that seems good. Hello? Doctor from the surface is using the Mimiga of this island to grow red flowers for him. Similar kinds of events have occurred in the past, too. Careful with the spitting gunfish. They can only be used as steps. But they can be used as steps. What a weird thing to say on a sign. Who would write that? Ow. Also, I have a jetpack. I don't need to use the steps, I don't think. There we go. Do not enter. Also, it's locked. Okay. Well. I guess that's fair. Ooh, pipe. We've been piped. The amount of nuts people may or may not have. I mean, I don't make the rules. Listen. You can check your Ds. But if it says 0, it's not my fault. You really can't point the finger at anyone in that situation but yourself. Oh, there's a giant guy up there. Can I get... No, I don't think I can. Oh, he fling thing. Are you? Hello? This is just Mimiga. They're not actually, like, undead Mimiga. This Halloween is making it very upsetting. Not what I was prepared for. They don't talk, though. Okay. Skill issue? This guy's just Darth Vader-ass guy. Haven't we met somewhere before? Must have been at Mimiga Village. That witch misery brought me in here. I really dislike farming. I'm going to clear my head with some fishing for a little bit. You like to fish? If there's another chance, maybe I'll bump into you again. It's the person from the reservoir who was fishing. How sweet. Please all not talk. Secret. 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 Hello? Are you meaning to tell me this is not a secret? This is just a hole in the wall? I would... Shocked. Shocked and appalled. That looks so much like a secret. A little walkway in there. There's a crack in the wall. Trombone solo intensifies. This sprinkler is... Oh, can't be talking to humans. Alright. Alright. It's gushing water at furious rates. Okay. Lovely phrasing. And red petals. No, I just hovered in place until that blade hit me. Great work. I think I'm very low on health. I'm not receiving health at a good rate. At a sustainable rate. Can we like feather the jetpack? No, it doesn't. That seems intentionally out of reach. If I had to guess. If I were designing the game and I wanted something to be not accessible yet, I would make it look about like that. The new casting. I have seen the names. I haven't, like, watched any videos of them yet. Yoni, hello. Is that a Yoni emote? Is that a Yoni emote in my chat? Hole Scar. Why is it called Hole Scar? the little taken aback, like, face. Very good, very good. Thank you for the emote. For introducing me to this. How you doing, Yoni? I hope the weekend is being good to you. I cannot even communicate with these people, apparently. Alright. Alright. It's just a coincidence, you promise. Sounds so trustworthy. Yoni is lying. Yoni would never lie to me. How dare you insinuate such a thing? Use my limited number of rockets for a simple destructible block. Destination is unknown. Not yet. Let me continue exploring a little bit first. Doing good, just go home and I'm extremely tired. Well, I hope you have a good chance to rest at least. A small innocent being. Eli is honestly outrageous with his accusations. The idea that you would accuse your own children of lying is honestly just kind of shameful. No other way to put it. Yeah. Teleporter it is then. All your children lie, and where do you think they got it from? Not a coincidence, you know. Let's teleport to the unknown. Into the unknown. Ooh, is this in the station? Yeah. Is this where the Kazuma was hidden, or is this a different shelter? Oh, it's bushlands. Okay. What am I doing here? What do I want to do here? Get some more jellyfish juice, I guess. Oh, I thought that was a wall, if I'm being honest right now. I'm so weirdly intimidated by all these enemies. Look at these little guys down here. The crows with glasses on. Everything's different and weird. It's just more scary that way. Can you make me another bomb? Hello. Long time no see. I am very happy you decided to come and visit me. It gets lonely here all by myself. I have been thinking of booting up a spare robot and throwing a party. I apologize that I do not have any tea to serve you. I can't believe this. No tea. Okay. Exclamation mark, my tea. 0. Shocking. All the jellyfish and Metro hits, that's amazing. How is this so... I've never seen this before in my life. And the menu said seasonal skins. So does that imply that there's like a Christmas one and a whatever else one? Easter one? Commitment is... so inspiring. Fafnir, you have Fafnir to give you cuddles. Okay, that's good. You're gonna get accused of lying. It's nice to have at least something to comfort you afterwards. You've received a whole collection of eyeballs to devour. Okay. I'm glad that you don't, therefore, need to devour the eyeballs of people around you, I guess. Look at this, it's just like... This is wild. The pink grass with spikes. There are some spikes there that are kind of red. Burn the plastic ground. You know, I've mentioned this before, as a Brit, I feel very conflicted about tea. I don't actually like it. I don't drink it. So tea being so important culturally is a weird feeling for me. Ah, we can get up here now. No, we already came here, didn't we? What a strange game. What a fun, quirky, weird game. One should remember to remove the 10-pound weight off the wire shelf before moving it. Oh no. Your foot hurts now, okay. That's not as bad as it could have been. I was worried that something had been destroyed. Aha! We found something. You see a little chocolate hello. Wait, this is the beginning of the game. Oh. Someone pilfered it. Hmm. I don't even think what... Ow. I think what the game is leading me to, because... Whoa, let's fire all of my missiles at once. Because it sent me to the bushlands, but I don't know what was in the bushlands other than the bushland stuff. You received little chocolate balls covered in foil with eyeball texture. I also question the phrase eyeball texture. Not texture, print. Okay, I understand. Like an eyeball graphic. You need your feet to walk. CC, walk on your hands. Honestly. Skill issue. Oh, there's the guy. Here's our friend. Now with cat ears. Amazing. And nothing else to do. You need your head is protected with a big hard bone. I mean, your feet are protected with small hard bones, right? Same difference. Just have stronger feet. Or are you missing... You're probably missing some bones, actually, because I will have taken some to make the gifts bones. So fair enough that some of your bones are missing. Perhaps some of the more important ones. I apologise for that. Feet are weird for walking, this is what they do. Yeah. I love to see it. Oh, okay, that confused me as well for a second. You dropped a £10 weight off the shelf onto your foot, which is rough, but hopefully it recovers. Everyone's missing. They're all dead. They're all dead, Dave. There's some eyes in that. Think of the texture on 3D models. That does make sense. That is what you would call that in that context. Gum. We've returned to gum. Amazing. Hello? I knew that. I worked it out eventually. This is also not a place to be. It seems like. I am actually bamboozled. Can I teleport back from here? Sure, but that doesn't help me. See, she has 0 brain cell, oh dear. I hope you weren't planning on doing anything, you know, that requires brain cell. I'm sure you're good. I'm sure you're all good. 0 foot. Oh dear. No foot but many toes, perhaps. Yaw. Oh god. Exclamation mark your variable and then username. That's very open. Oh, that opens some possibilities for hijinks of the most devious nature. I can't. This is all the Mimiga from the village, but I can't get in here, right? Can't talk. Can't break anything. Rocket? No. Seems like someone there should say something like, "Please go help us by going to the thing and doing the place." But no. They're just standing there, oblivious. The teleporter room? No, this is the rest area. Are you going to talk to me? No. I think I remember what I need to do here. Vaguely, but not how to do it. He's so angry. He's so displeased, isn't he, Eli? He's just like, not having... He's done with your shit, is what that fish is. Hello, Happy. How you doing? Doritos. Also love my shirt. Thank you. This is one of my favourite kind of formal shirts. I don't know if you can call it formal. But if I want to be a little bit fancy, a little bit of a fancy bitch, I wear my nice kind of... It's got like nice dangly sleeves as well. Like weirdly loose sleeves. And that's fun. How you doing, Happy? Good to see you. Cinnamony. Yeah, it's kind of cinnamon flavoured. The return of Boneless Gif. Is there? Is Boneless Gif here? I don't think he's here. I think Boneless Gif is actually streaming right now. You will survive, though barely, I'm sure. We're all 07's in chat for CC, the bravest soldier. Gift brain cell 1 CC. Ooh. There's like the potential for gift giving, not stats, not like your beans and your wits, but things like secrets and your bob. And other such things, in like items that things I consider to be inventory rather than stats. Giving them to each other, maybe. I don't know if I'll have it freely tradable, but more of a thing where you can trade them for certain events. Assign 1 brain cell. Try to ban me, get CC. Good luck. We all know that I'm unbannable, so it's not going to work, but I appreciate the enthusiasm. The bot's broken. Everything's working 100% entirely as intended.
It's not Terry's.
We know this.
It's mine.
Orange. I will eat some chocolate. Some chocolate stand-in. Eli has 1 bob. Don't remember how you got it. How do you have 1 bob? Yeah, no, it was a testing thing. I was running trying to test a command, a reward thing. And Eli was one of the people who was there. And I assigned 1 bob to it. As a thank you for testing. Secret. Here we go. What's the password? Fuck on out of here is the password. Alright. Well, I've been bamboozled again. guess we'll look over here. Can we look down here? Oh, it's an out. It's an exit. My hair is... Oh, interesting point. Good point. My hair is not down. Apparently my browser has closed itself at some point. I don't think I told it to do that. Let me look at it. So I need to initialize. Why is Twitch telling me, like, introducing me to channel points now? Right, okay. Yeah, I need to initialize that command when I start stream, I guess. Because it will end up on whatever it was left on last stream. So I have that actually switching between put your hair up and let your hair down. But if it is left... Oh, the fishing guy's here. If it is left on saying put your hair up, then when I start the next stream it'll be on that still, but my hair will be up, so it'll be wrong. We have to make sure we initialize that. CC, you completed Path of Pain? What? What? CC, your power is unmatched, truly. Efage, hello. This is Tius is Riss's Frog. Frog, I don't speak French, I'm sorry. I don't know what you're saying. Can I please turn her off stream filtres? What is this? What are these moon runes? Is bloche in Frans? I think we have a spammer in chat. I think we have a troll in chat. I don't think, we can all safely disregard this person. This goddamn Zubied. 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 Okay. I kind of see how that would work within a ZT keyboard. These... What is happening? Carol, hello. Carol, can you please translate what Airfage is saying, which is actually, I think, frog. Yeah, Frog is assuming Airfage's identity, which is highly illegal. No doubt. Even in France, where laws are very blasé, I'm sure. And speaking in moon runes to us. What is happening to Bob up here? Something happened to Bob. We've got a posture check. I will posturize. Hair is resolved. Yoni is attacking Bob just relentlessly for no reason. No, Bob's not even a guy. Not even a guy. Set condition, my one Bob. I did it. It worked. Oh, removed all brain cells, I see. Password is 12345. Lied about having my hair down. I didn't lie. The problem was that nobody thought to correct it at the end of last stream. It's really all of your fault. Well, not mine. Reset it at the end or at the start of stream. Yes, I've got like events that run at the start and end of stream to reset things to once per stream kind of stuff. So I'll just put it in there somewhere. I cannot access your stream. Amazing, Frog. I almost believe you. Timed out for 60,000 seconds. Carol, seems accurate. Seems quite likely, actually. What are you talking about, Frog? Why is Frog saying, I can access your stream, please turn off filter? 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 I mean, what I would assume this would mean is that the content warnings are blocked in the it's like a, what do you call it? Like a parental warning thing. if you're on a network which has parental things set up, Discord DM, what the hell? What the hell is happening? Frog, I hate to break it to you. Apparently you can't hear me. I can't read that. I can't read what you're saying. I guess I have to now go to a translate page. What a strange saga Frog has thrown us all into. If I should set up parental controls on Frog's Twitch, that's what I think is happening, right? Due to your age and or region, Frog, are you under 18? Is Frog underage? Is this what's happened? Is this how we find out? Turbidite on my filters. Let me look up Twitch content warnings, regional bans. Turbidite. Yeah, I'm trying to perceive. The GIF. Hold on.
And now for something completely different.
We've got an emergency here. I mean, it's not an emergency. It just means that Frog is banned, which is fine, to be honest. But oh, BGIF. Wait, hang on. Okay, let me actually address this. Let me address the scandalous accusations that are flying around about me. BGIF, thank you for the sub. Benki, thank you for the sub. Oh my god, right. Eli, Dinkle, Johansson, Venki, BGIF. Welcome in, and Quacky. Welcome in, guys. Thank you so much for the raid. I appreciate you all being here. How was your stream? Did you have fun in Gothic? Did you fight some lizards? Did you get killed by some lizards? Seems like that happens about every 30 seconds in that game. So I'm going to assume yes. Thank you for the 17 months of sub. My god. And Benki, 4 months. My god. Has it already been 4 months? I don't believe it. Apparently I killed BGIF. Yes, this happened a little bit. A little bit. But BGIF, if you check your, I want to say wit, terms, and metal or grace. If you check your stuff, if you check your shit, I think you'll have some there. It should be reinstated. I should have reinstated and possibly aired on the generous side when I put it back to make sure that it definitely had. Yeah, you got 2 wits, you got 2 terms. LE at the end of metal. You only has 0 shit. This is tragic. And 2 metal. Okay, I was right. Okay, so you do have your shit back in order. I did, in fact, BGIF, rebuild you. I also give you some bones, I think. I forget exactly how many. But you should have some bones. I figured that what you currently had didn't really qualify as bones, like legally speaking, technically speaking, according to, guidelines. So I took a few from people who weren't using them. So you can probably actually check your bones. I think you can check your bones. Thank you for the giant emote, the giant Mr. Bones. Hold, please. I've got to put BGIF's bones in him, I guess. No, it's because okay. Yes, no, that's because I deleted them. I deleted BGIF's bones and I didn't put them back when I put the other stuff back. That's what happened. I see now. Seems fair. Okay. Bones have been reinserted. I had to do it quite quickly, right? Because, you know, in the middle of a stream. So they might be a bit mixed up. They might not be properly, like, straightened out. But they should be there. I lied about your bones, apparently. All your bones are broken. Yeah, I mean, there is an element of responsibility that I think Big If has to take for his inadequate bones. I literally deleted Big If's bones. This is actually terrible. How is Big If supposed to go to the bone doctor with no bones? They really should have thought about that when they made a bone doctor. They shouldn't have made it so bones were a requirement. Although I guess if you don't have any bones, what's the bone doctor going to do? He's going to look at your meat and be like, well, that's not my problem. Show me some bones and I'll fix them. I can't do anything with your meat or your blood. 24 bones. There we go. Bones reinstated a little bit hastily. You know, you can't rush these things and expect a perfect job, but at least they're in there. At least they're in there. It's better than nothing. Hello, Bone Doctor. Bone Doctor, you have no bones. Exactly. This is not my purview. This is not my jurisdiction. This is meat and blood and whatever else is in there, but no bones. And I only deal with bones. So what am I supposed to do? You forgive me for killing you. Thank you. I think the bones are a good reimbursement. The meat doctor and the bone doctor in cahoots. I don't actually want to talk to the meat doctor. I'll be honest with you. Do we remove my content warning so the Frog can watch stream? Frog, you can... Wait, Frog? No, hang on. Because Frog... If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not sorely mistaken, I think Frog and AFIs live together. I don't want to spread any scurrilous rumours. But why would Frog's account be blocked and AFI's account not be blocked? Because then it can't be a regional thing. So I think Frog might be underage. I think actually it must be that Frog is underage, because they'll be on the same internet as well, I assume. Same Wi-Fi. So it's not even that the Wi-Fi will tell you where someone is, because it's the same. So unless it's on data, in which case Frog might need to allow like adult content on your mobile network. That's the thing you've got to do, isn't it? Intended for certain audiences, it's everyone but Frog. Exactly. I think it is because Frog is underage. I think that's the only solution that makes sense, or the only explanation that makes sense. Unfortunately. And also we're fighting. I've never fought Frog. Frog has fought me plenty of times. I've never fought Frog. NordVPN sponsorship. I don't know if that's necessarily a good idea. I don't know. I always feel like NordVPN is a little bit too eager to sponsor people. It makes me suspicious. Maybe that's just me being contrary. Okay, so Frog, I think the answer is just get good. Also, I haven't changed anything, right? I'm still... What is this trick-or-treat challenge, Twitch? What? Okay, I'm going to look at that later. What are the French going to be most likely to block in their country? Sexual themes? Absolutely not. Drugs, intoxication or tobacco use? Absolutely not. Profanity or vulgarity? I wouldn't think so. Gambling? Are there French gambling laws? Does it count as a gambling thing if I have the gambling tag? Or violent and graphic depictions of violence, I assume. I guess I'm not doing any gambling. Okay. I'm going to remove some of my content warnings and see if Frog is allowed in. If little tiny baby Frog is allowed in to stream. You recommend Windscribe VPN. That's a good name. That's a good name. Fucking hell. I want to play a D&D with them. Twitch is pushing collaborative streaming and shared chats. What does that mean? Is it like a group chat? Like multiple... Okay, you know what? If it was a group chat where multiple streams had one chat, But not that they didn't have their own chats as well, but that there was like a group, like, you know, like you have a group message on Discord or WhatsApp or whatever. I can see that being kind of good. Maybe. It's weird when you're streaming, though. I like the idea of it being a group chat that is like an offline group chat, but then people have Discord for that, so I don't know. I'll have to look into how it works, but as usual, I think Twitch does things and no one cares about them. But I will entertain the idea. And we'll see. You come back and Mr. Begiff is here. He did. He raided in. Oh, by the way, not that it, you know, not that any of you don't already follow Begiff, but if you don't already follow Begiff, go follow Begiff. He's just a little guy with no bones who has now has 24 bones, which is probably enough, right? He's only a little guy. 24 bones is plenty. When you co-stream. That makes sense. I think that... Okay, so people use that multi-stream or similar things, multi-stream websites that show multiple Twitch streams at once on one window and have their chats like next to each other. I think shared chat is definitely a better version of that, right? That makes sense. I think it would work. I don't see why it wouldn't work. Group stream chat. Well, yeah, I feel like a lot of us have obviously the same group of people who fuck around and watch all the same people. So it kind of like feels that having a shared chat when you're not co-streaming almost kind of makes sense. But I feel like because of the fact that when one person is streaming, or I guess no, it's more like when two people are streaming different things, like not like streaming at the same time, but not co-streaming. Then it doesn't work, right? Because then one person's talking and the other person's talking, and they can't communicate with each other. But having a shared chat is weird then. But I think it makes sense for a group chat for co-streams and potentially for some kind of offline thing. But Discord just fulfills that purpose much better, I think. Hate raiding the group chat. Hate raiding your own group chat. How many of those 24 bones used to be your bones? I will not answer any questions about bones, actually. Legally, I've been advised not to by my lawyers. Well, what can I say? You're starting to stream so you can co-stream with Oscar so we can both get the bad Twitch emotes. I mean, let's do a co-stream sometime. What can we co-stream? Hollow Knight Randomizer? You gotta finish Hollow Knight first. God damn it. We'll figure something out. We can figure something out. No doubt. Okay, maybe Frog is out of prison. Frog, hello. I was about to DM you. Right. Have things been righted? Have things corrected themselves? So what I did, Frog, I turned off the gambling warning, and I turned off the graphic violence warning. Because I figured the other three, which were, don't mind this finger, swearing, sex, and drug use, were probably not a problem in France, right? But I do suspect it's something to do with your... Are you on mobile data, or are you on Wi-Fi? Because if you're on Wi-Fi, it's presumably the same Wi-Fi as Eiffage is on, and therefore shouldn't be any different. But if it's mobile data, you can get that, like your mobile network gets filtered automatically for adult content, and that might count. But usually that's on a per website basis. You're on Wi-Fi, but Eiffage got blocked too, and somehow glitched his phone into the stream. Well, he is a professional gamer, I guess. I guess that makes sense. Interesting. Well, I've turned off gambling and violence. Gambling, I feel like, is the most likely one, because actual country by country gambling laws are very different, and some of them are very strict. Although the Netherlands is one of the stricter ones, as far as I know, and Yoni doesn't seem to have any problem. So maybe it's a skill issue, Frog, honestly. I mean, I can't really say for sure, but that's what it looks like right now. Either that or you're underage. There was a little bit of identity theft, yes. A normal randomizer, so you can do the rando tunic. Well, honestly, a group randomizer. No, this is a great idea right now. A group randomizer. You know, all comers allowed, but anybody who wants to stream it can stream it. We do a co-stream. We get the bad Twitch emotes, and we have a good time. We use the group chat, whatever that is. We'll investigate how it works. And then anyone who wants to take part but not stream can also do so. And you can chat, voice chat, or text chat, or whatever. We're cooking here. We're cooking. This is an idea. So I know several people who have been like, randomizer, maybe. Actually, I'm doing a randomizer in 2 weeks. Is it? I'm doing a randomizer sometime soon. I'll post about it when I know. But I'm doing a multi-world with some people on someone else's stream. So that'll be fun. Eli has 9 secrets. Eli, what are you going to do with those 9 secrets? Are you going to keep them? Are you going to spread them? Thank you for turning off gambling and violence. I did turn off gambling. There's a little... Don't worry about the violence in the game. It's cartoon violence. It's fine. Using skill to bypass the firewall and hack into the mainframe. Exactly. So, Black Rosie, Frog was apparently unable to open the stream due to it being banned in their either region or age. And so came in on Airfash's account, typing the most bewildering moon runes we've ever seen, to request that I remove the filters. But apparently it's working now. If no one reports us for anything that occurs without the filters, then we're probably good anyway. The filters are just like, actually, you don't know who, people fuck around and report people for bullshit on Twitch and on the internet in general. So I didn't want that to risk that thing where, like, some troll is like, you said fuck, I'm going to report you for profanity because you don't have the profanity filter on. And then it's like, obviously, I swear a lot, so that's fair enough anyway. But then it could be like, you did a channel point prediction and you don't have the gambling tag, or you talked about gambling in somewhere, or you made like a very casual bet with someone, right? And then there's like, you said something about sex, and therefore you don't have the sex filter activated. And they're not like topics I'm gonna necessarily focus on, but they might come up. I blame all of you, to be honest. You're so happy to be here. Sorry if you're absolutely drunken typing early. You could not figure out his keyboard. I mean, you can read what you've written, right? Surely you can type it and then read it and then think, that's not right, and then delete it and try again. I just suggestions, I'm not a Frenchman. I can't explain how the keyboard works, but I can imagine the process being from not understanding it to understanding it. I can visualize that process. Yeah, apparently no more gambling and violence allowed, or at least not for Frog. When Frog's gone, we'll open back up the casino, and we'll start shooting each other. But not when Frog's here, because Frog is underage. For legal reasons, this is a joke. You offer identity theft protection, but the fee is one identity, yours, up front. Can't be stolen if it's sold. Your identity will not be stolen, it's mine. I will keep it safe. You also can't use it. And you're allowed to gamble in Oscar stream even though the Dutch laws forbid me to. Literally, you can't do channel point predictions, right? Unless that's changed. But last I heard, people in the Netherlands couldn't do channel point predictions on stream because you can... The argument, I think, was that whilst they don't have like a monetary value, some channels have a thing where you can get something for channel points. Like you can get VAP, or for like high amounts you can get like a postcard or whatever, like a gift sub, for example. Which does have a monetary value, so you could argue that the channel points did have a monetary value, and therefore gambling with them is against gambling laws. It kind of makes sense, but it's a weird implementation of that restriction, I think. So Whitney, there's a co-streaming thing, apparently. I've just heard about it literally right now, where if you co-stream, you can get a group chat, and there's special emotes you can get for the group chat for using it, and apparently they're bad. But that's just Twitch, right? Although I will say, the Twitch's last wave of hype train emotes were fucking great. I really like them. Only this week, and you're gone on Monday. Oh dear. Tomorrow? Well, tomorrow morning? I'll see. I literally haven't heard about this. This is bizarre that it's this week only, and it's now... Oh no, is it this week coming? Or this week just gone? I could figure something out over this week coming. A ZWRTY keyboard is the worst. I can't imagine it. But I know Frog uses one. So I don't know why Frog has such trouble with A5's keyboard. Hang on a minute. This doesn't add up. I know Frog uses a ZWRTY keyboard. Because whenever we're trying to explain controls to him on a keyboard, he panics because the buttons are all wrong. So Frog does use an ZWRTY keyboard. French autocorrect. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Thing is, I don't like English autocorrect. I turn autocorrect off all the time. It's just infuriating. Eli has 0 lies. Big claims. You release them into the world and you possess none. That's right. You don't hold on to them. If you love them, you have to let them go. Fafnir stole one of your towels. Well, he probably needs it, right? They probably need it. I don't know what Fafnir is. But, you know, that sounds like an important job that Fafnir has to do that needs a towel. So you just leave him to it. That's fine. If it's being streamed, definitely text chat. Yes, I assumed as much for you. Fafnir is CC. Oh, that's right. CC steals towels. Oh, dear. The conspiracy goes deep. Fafnir, yep. You hit a ZWRTY unless you're actively typing in French. I will say that I always got confused by the fact that Q was the first letter in the English language keyboard layout, when Q is very underused in English, or very low in the usage charts in English. And I guess you could argue that the Q is sort of out of the way because it's not in the middle, but it's the first letter, physically the first letter in the layout. So that seems weird. I don't know. You retyped each message 5 times and it simply made it worse. It sounds like a skill issue, Frog. I'm sorry. The random tangents, yes. No, it's the kind of thing where I will get onto a subject, no doubt, at some point that violates one of those content warnings. Denmark can't gamble either. Okay. Talking about cock and balls, absolutely allowed. Sexual content, swearing, totally fine. And what was the other one? The other thing that was, drug use. All totally fine. Gambling, fucking get out. If you hold the space key, it'll let you switch autocorrect languages. Oh. I have it set up where I can swipe the space bar to go from English to Japanese. Not that I use Japanese very much. When I was doing Duolingo, I was using it a bit. 0 cock and balls. Tragic. Streamer gives you $5 redeem. I mean, that is what a gift sub is, right? And I do know several streamers who have you get a gift sub redeem. The keys on his phone are different shapes. The keys on his phone? Like the keyboard keys? Are different shapes? They're not squares? My phone. If I'm typing something, what shapes are my keys? I've never considered the shapes of my keys. No, they're like little rectangular guys. Rectangular guys. What are they, fucking hexagons? I don't understand the French. You can't all be correct all the time. CC, you're shouting at me and I do not know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I have missed some context. The sizing is different. If you turned off autocorrect, you would not be able to reform a readable sentence. 0 brain cells. To type without autocorrect. I make typos. I make plenty of typos, especially on mobile. Sometimes it's like I type the wrong word, or I accidentally an entire word from a sentence. But I make plenty of typos as well. I just go back and correct them. It's easier for me. Easier for me than wrestling with a computer that tries to tell me what I want to type. Your habit of lies and deception leading your friends to not believe you. Literally, Frog, I fully assumed you were being a gremlin. 100%. 120%. Bad emotes are from today until the 31st. Okay. Okay, I mean, we can work something out. Oh, like, well, if you're gone all week, then maybe you can't. That's a shame. But I might try and do something, because I like emotes. Even if they're bad, I like to have them. You know, you never know when you might need them. You always type that autocorrect. Yep, same. Yoni and Carol co-op stream. Leaving for birthday vacation on Monday, yeah. Can you mobile stream? Just stream yourself walking around a field or whatever. Sitting in the park. Crocheting something or whatever it is you do on a holiday. Doing a jigsaw puzzle. Touch typing layout. More used letters are in easier reach. I guess so. I mean, I guess there's no button that's out of reach. But then, if Q and Z are in what are considered to be uncommon locations, why is P also in a very unusual location? Because P is nowhere near as rare as Q and Z, right? And M. Like P and M are very they're in the corners, right? Why would they be in the corners like Q and Z are when P and M are clearly much more commonly used? I don't think what would be the least commonly used letters. K, maybe, or V. V should be. Yeah, V's right in the middle, the bottom middle, which seems weird. And X is also like, I mean, X is almost in home position, right? It's just one key down. So I don't know. I don't know about the people who made this. It's very questionable. If I both games in hard mode and types in hard mode. A tiny stream, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna try and I'm gonna look into it for sure and see how it works and how you do it. Keys are longer rectangles, make them skinny. Confusing. His keyboard keys are tesseract, yeah, an infinitely tessellating pattern of 8-sided shapes. Oh, I'm Oscar. I turn off autocorrect because I'm always right. I just said I type for all the time. Let's go back and correct them. Hello, Serial. Autocorrect can't have your typos. They're mine, all mine. Exactly. I'm not going to have a robot tell me how to type. I'm going to have my natural ability to type come through in my messages. That's what I want. You saw me not believe you. I really didn't. I truly, really, absolutely didn't. It's absolutely the case. I will believe everything you say on the internet. See this, that will lead you to bad places. Don't do it. Don't do it. P is in an unusual location. This is tragic. Not stored in the balls like it should be. QWERTY provides a popular key within reach of each finger. A is the worst placed. I mean, where's your home position on a QWERTY keyboard? Is it not left index finger on D? Sorry, on F. Because there's a little nub in there, and right index finger on J. Yeah, but is it index fingers on the anchor keys? Because in that case, A is right next to your left hand. But it's also like X is right next to your left hand as well, and Q is a slightly bigger diagonal stretch. I mean, I guess from that position, everything's within easy reach. But Q just seems like a very distinctly easy to memorize location. Like, no one who's typing on a keyboard is going to be like, oh, where's Q? Because it's the first letter. P is not in a corner. Well, it's not all the way in a corner, but it's in the corner of the alphabet, right? And it's actually the most out of the way of the alphabet, because it's also further to the right than, like, M and L are. Well, I guess from the hand position, it's not. I guess, to be fair, Q is pretty much the most out of the way key. B is as well. Q and B are the ones that are the most travel distance from your fingers. then B is like a weird one. Like, why would you have V be right next to your index finger when B is further away? I don't know. You intend to show humility and humanity through my texting. Exactly. It's got to be authentic and organic. You hit autocorrect and just make mistakes instead. Exactly. My feelings exactly. 2 fingers concurrently or nearby. That makes sense, yeah. There's definitely some parts, yeah, some things where you're like, okay, this makes sense that these letters would be near each other. Although I always felt like C and K would make sense to be near each other. Unreadable messages. If that's the price, Carol, if that's the price it takes, that's what we will give. Turning on auto mistake. So the 2 mistakes cancel out and you type the right thing. Genius. Incredible. Index fingers and F and J, yeah. Yeah, which are obviously like that's the central row and spaced out so you can reach every letter quickly. It's less like I don't feel like when I'm typing any letter is inconvenient to press. I don't really do like proper touch typing, I guess, but I do type, you know, fine. I can also feel when I make a mistake. Like if I'm typing something and I make a mistake, I can kind of like incorporate a like backspace or control left to select the word and retype it into my flow. So I make mistakes but correct them as I go. But it's more about like a mental thing, right? Like if I look at the keyboard, Q is the first letter, and that's weird because why would Q be the first letter? Rather than it being a practical thing necessarily. A is typed with the weakest finger. Okay. Okay, I would say as a guitarist, the ring finger is not the weakest finger. Obviously, little finger, notwithstanding. The ring for a guitarist, your ring finger is really strong. Like it's not maybe not the most precise, I guess, but it's got so much like clout behind it, so much weight behind it that I think of ring finger as being a very strong finger. But I guess it's different when you're typing. Different mechanical requirements. Frog just has custard on his head. That's fine. Both of these approaches to chat are valid. Why are URAQT not placed together? Very good question, Yoni. Caps lock, yeah. Oh well, I don't really use caps lock, but shift and control would be pinky, and alt sometimes if I'm doing something that's over to the left, to the right side of the keyboard. F and J. You wish Apple had not made a bunch of keyboards where D and K had the lines instead. Ew. K? So your right hand's just hanging off into the void, then into the punctuation void. That's disgusting. Apple never cease to let me down with their terrible decisions and their desires to be super like unique and interesting and proprietary. You've shown both the messages that Frog was sending through the vessel of Airfash. Tor stream is being blockade in France. It's pretty good. Me when I'm being blockade in France. In France. Physical ones could use Max, but none of yours like that. It's probably a thing that Apple did for a while, and then we're like, oh shit, maybe we should actually do it the same as everybody else does it. Because that's how people are used to. In the 80s, right? Frog learnt type from Ula, maybe. Ula does like to give us all typing lessons sometimes. So it makes sense. Me when I block it, Frankens. CK in separate hands for faster typing. Well, no, because you use 2 different fingers, right? Because I can type like ER with 2 fingers. And that's very, very speedy. And CK, I think being on 2 different fingers, 2 different hands, makes it almost slightly slower. Because coordinating 2 different hands like that is harder, I would say, than just doing 2 fingers on one hand. Not that it's hard, but you know, slightly more efficient to do it with one hand. I feel like the combo letters, I guess Q and U are very separate as well. And you don't get much more of a combo than Q and U. But I guess Q is uncommon enough that it's not a big focus. Yeah, you know, I'm sure it's fine. I use it and it works, but I mildly question exactly how efficient it is. Yeah, exactly. Apple's thing of like, no, we have to have it our way. We'll do the right way. And then everyone's like, oh, fucking Apple and your different way. And then eventually Apple are like, okay, we'll do it the same way. Quacky, well done, spotting the little man. Sneaking in there. There was a hydrate. I don't know if I did this. I think I did, but I will hydrate again anyway. Thank you, witch. We should throw all my choranges in the ocean. I don't have any choranges, Cece. I only have Tonys. Because I'm an Amsterdam boy, you see. This is where I live now. In my head. RIP your keyboard. Oh yeah, frog typed like Ula. It's like destroying it as you go. Glad you're not about to have a fistfight of people of your keyboard, right? If Apple were trying to do it now. Yeah, I mean, they would, wouldn't they? They'd be like, we've actually decided that a different way of doing it is this. Carol has sent me a link. And that's a very intimidating thing. It's a very ominous energy that is carried by Carol sending you a link with no context. I'm gonna open it. Amazing. Now, what if I did this? What if I did this? Who's being floopy? An anonymous gifter has gifted a month of subscription to Airfight. How incredibly generous. This will help him be able to witness my stream, even when it is being blocky. Thank you so much, anonymous stranger, for your kindness. Is that right? Right enough. I declare it to be right. This is the wrong chat. Come back, chat. Oh my god. The GIF has gifted a sub to an anonymous viewer. Very good, very good. Well done. I hope all the anonymous viewers out there feel incredibly seen by this, except not seen, because they're anonymous and they don't wish to be seen, but, you know, seen in their soul, perhaps. Thank you, Big If, for the gift sub. You may notice up there, by the way, way up there, I can't reach my hand up here, up there, where I'm pointing. We've got a sub point challenge. Apparently, my next emote is at 65, which is wild. I don't know when I had, like, whatever the previous threshold was. But an anonymous gifter has gifted a sub to Anonymous. Anonymous. My sister was killed by a moose. Thank you very much, anonymous gifter. And you, anonymous gifter, to Begif69. To Begif69, the famous Begif69, who I don't remember if we know who that is, or if it's just Begif. It could just be Begif, but I'm pretty sure that Begif69 is a known party, right? And now we have a hype train, so fucking alright, here we go. I'm going to read through chat. We're going to continue reading through chat, you lunatics. Carol, thank you for the 100 bits. A is typed with the pinky.
Amazing.
Fucking excuse me. CC. Thank you for the bits. 369 bits. Nice. Well done. A is typed with the pinky, at least officially. I would like to meet those officials, and I will stab them in the eye with my pinky and say that's what it's used for. Actually. I think you'll find. You're going to cut off the 5th button from all of my shirts. Frog, but my shirts are very gay. That's kind of homophobic of you, right? When I call you a cutie. You're all cuties, every single one of you. And all those letters should be just together, so if I just mash my hand on the keyboard, that's what comes out. Since when this emote? I wish I could explain it for you, Yoni. I wish I had any insight into it. Let's resew the 5th button 2 centimeters lower instead. You're all very overestimating the amount I care about buttons. If you haven't noticed, I am 99% a t-shirt wearer. Buttons do not factor into my life very much at all. Quacky was very fast, well done. Benki is man of Amsterdam. I'm just a lad who goes to Amsterdam all the time. It's slightly different. Yeah, exactly. Carol knows it. Important difference. If I shall be excited about... Oh, Pog Teeth, right. And Mr. Bones. And I think Keckworm is there. What makes you think he wants to be here? Who wants to be here? Who wants to be where? CC, I have once again missed context for your message. I apologise. You can GIF... you can't GIF to an anonymous viewer. It's a user whose username is as an anonymous viewer. It's a bit of japery, a bit of the old japers. Right, there's the hype train. Right, we do have a hype train in chat. For some reason. Fucking who knows why. As you may have noticed, we do have a reward, a channel point reward, where you can claim it once the hype train is over. Now, there's more to it than that, but I'll leave that for you to find out. It's not Begif. Which one is you, Begif? No, Begif24 Backup, I guess, is you. I thought there was another Begif that was you. I thought there was a Begif something that was actually Begif, but maybe I'm mixing up. It's been a while since we've had all that business. All that funny business in chat. Hype these nuts. CC, I will continue to hype your nuts into perpetuity. Announcement about a thing? Did I announce something? Oh, the auto thing that with the hype train, yes. Kells, hello, welcome in. How are you doing? Did you get some good sleep last night? Because me and Whitney did. We slept very well, apparently. You don't wear buttons because they don't fit in certain places without gaping open. I'm sure it's complicated for various people to wear button shirts. I feel like whenever I wear a button shirt, I do feel like there is obviously there's gappage, and there's also bottom gap where the tails of the shirt separate, and there's a bit, and maybe I'd need to wear bigger shirts or something. But I feel like wearing some kind of vest under a shirt is actually how you're supposed to do it, and I don't think I'm going to do that because that's 2 layers, and that is twice as many layers as I will wear, and honestly two more layers than I want to wear. So yeah, we will not be doing that in this house. Kekwem is not there. No, I added a new emote. I did add a new emote. It was just a little temporary fun thing. But I wanted to have a little bit of Yorkshire pride in my emotes. So I did add a Yorkshire emote. Your life is full of buttons. The kind you press, hoping they do something. Only some of them do, though. Yes, no, that kind of button, for sure. I am pro that kind of button, definitely. Discussing a GFN get-together in the Netherlands on Burger Stream. I mean, honestly, anytime anyone goes to the Netherlands, I'm like, cool, I'm there. Except for right now, where I can't because of schedules and things, and other people being away, and a child needing looking after, and other work things to do. Unfortunately, I can't be there for the current fun Netherlands thing that is happening. If anyone else is in the Netherlands and knows Cooper Tennis, our good buddy Cooper, I'm almost typed in exclamation mark Cooper Tennis, which would not have been correct. If anyone doesn't know Cooper, go follow Cooper. He's fucking lovely. And he's having an Amsterdam meetup. If you don't know Cooper, you should know him. Go there, become familiar with Cooper, and then go to Amsterdam and meet him. I'm sure most of you do know Kupo, because we love Kupo here. Oh my goodness, what is happening here? Let your hair down. Oh, fucking right. Alright, okay. Here we go. Kel, subscribe. Thank you for the sub. Oh my god. The hype train is being bamboozled and scrumbled. Witchy, you're lucky for drinkies. Drinkies, Witchy. Have good drinkies. This was how many minutes ago? 3. Oh, I'm only 2 minutes behind in chat now. That's not bad. But I hope your drinkies are going well. Oh, people are counting their beans. We've actually finished the hype train. My god. I'm so behind. I'm 2 minutes behind and things are already... I'm already missing stuff. CC doing amazing. You're bad at reminding streamer of context when you type responses. My context for this is you not knowing what the context is for my messages. Thank you, CC. That made it very clear. Yeah, there's the Yorkshire remote. We love to see it. I'm not quite sure what I'll use it for, but, you know, sometimes you've got to bust out a bit of a Yorkshire pride. A skill issue on Oscar's part, surely. Frog wouldn't know anything about this. About not understanding messages in chat because you're 10 minutes behind. There's the hype train. It is 1,000 points currently. There's Frogmoo Violence. Just really driving home that it's definitely someone who is here already. Whitney raises their head, raises their voice, and raises their beans to 1. A very appropriate one, I think, for you, if you recognise that reference. Quacky waxes lyrical and raises their beans to 1. There's a Kupo shout-out. Kelzeba polishes their silver tongue and raises their beans to 1. What did that silver tongue do, though? Got to put my oodles... Oh, you forgot. Yeah, Frog, you forgot. You forgot to put my oodles back. I'm sure. 1 beans. 1 beans, Whitney. Well done. Begif polishes their silver tongue and raises their beans to 1. CC polishes their silver tongue and raises their beans to 1. Yoni wants me to complete a Rubik's Cube. Right. Eli waxes lyrical and raises their beans to 1. We got silver tongues. We got... Oh, Frog is touched by the muses. Well. Whoa. Can't do that on Twitch. That's got to be against some kind of content warning. You already had 1 beans. You got 2 beans now, Eli. Did it say you raised your beans to 1? Let me have a look at that. That doesn't seem right. Johansson. Hello, also. Let me start. I'm going to start shuffling this while we do it. Bot. May I have streamer bot, please? Plus beans. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll have to just fix that. It'll be a slow and annoying fix, but I can fix that. It's only tracking... That number that you see there is only tracking the times you've used that redeem. So if you raise your beans via some other means, it will not increase that number. That's when I was like, oh, this is how I'll increase stats. But then I ended up applying a load of other ways to increase stats. And I didn't want to restrict it to just that one way. But now I've got back and use the actual variable instead of just tracking the number of times that redeem has happened. But it does increment your beans correctly. So it's just a display issue with the message. Black Rosie raises their head, raises their voice, and raises their beans to 1. I like how the 2 people in chat who are huge Hadestown fans both got the Hadestown reference as their message. It's like I planned it. It's like I scripted it, you know? Tempted to talk about beans inappropriately. CC talking about beans whilst polishing her silver tongue. I wonder what she's planning on doing. There's a little bug in the redeem. Yes, thank you, Eli. We have spotted. Begif, is your bot running? Frog's going to go do strange things with my oodles. My oodles are going to be mixed up. The muses are gay. Exclamation mark, touch muses. Okay, Frog. Listen, Frog, we've established that you're underage. So you can't be doing things like that in my chat. 0 gay card. It's very sad. 0 gays. Steal my beans. Nope, I don't think you will. Put my hair up. Oh, well, Frogmoo Violence thinks that the hair up is better. Very interesting. Perhaps giving us a notion of as to who might not be Frogmoo Violence. For those of us who are paying attention. I feel like I need to do this real quick. I love that my play button will do anything. It will do anything except for make Spotify play. If I have a video open in any tab anywhere, my play button on my keyboard will play that video. It will not do Spotify. It's like lowest priority. Right. 1 cube de Rubik's, which is French for Rubik's Cube. Shuffled, pretty much shuffled, I think. I've not been paying attention, but it's pretty well shuffled to me. And I will now solve it. I always feel like when I'm doing a Rubik's Cube, I hold it very low down. But that's not that interesting, because then I'm just doing this for 6 minutes, and then being like, hey, it's done, which is very unconvincing. So I feel like I need to... I don't want to dick around with my camera too much, but I could just tilt it a little bit. This is a little bit more easy for me to hold it where it can be visible, but I can also... I don't want to hold it really high, because that's uncomfortable. You put my oodles back. I don't believe you, Frog. I don't believe you, because you're untrustworthy and deceptive. Instantly made me put my hair down again. Well, you can do that, but there is a cooldown on the redeem, so you do not have instant ability to do that. Cracky's taken some oodles away. That's so like him. And I wonder where he learned that, Frog. That kind of behaviour. Surely not by watching you. Nope. That's the one. I've not done a Rubik's Cube in a little while. I'm slowly remembering how to do it. Top done. Edges all correct. The old green screen side, where you can see Cave Story. Look, there's some Cave Story. There's some fish behind me. Look at the fish. Right, now I've got to remember some patterns, because this is where it gets more complicated. Yep, that's right. Still got it. Yep. And this one. There we go. Middle layer is done. And then this is the bit that I'm always like, there's 2 different ways to do it, and I forget which one is which. It's like... yeah, that's it. Okay, it worked out very well for us, actually. It gave us a good... We got good RNG. Good Rubik's Cube RNG. We go... Yep. More good RNG. Amazing. And then it is... Ha! 1 completed Rubik's Cube. I thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay, I need to read chat again. You really did? You're being bullied? You really did what? Oh, you really did replace my oodles. Can confirm oodles have been replaced. Now, here's the thing. Begif is so much more trustworthy than Frog that now I believe you. You would never do such a thing. I don't believe you. Not at all. Blobsy has 0 Blobsy Hull Scar. How good. How fun for you that you have 0 of those. Cracky biting Frog Moon violence. Seems only appropriate. Alright. Alright. If everyone is sufficiently impressed. That's the only reason I do that, obviously. I think we can probably get back to Cave Story, right? Can't believe Oscar doesn't trust you when you're so trustworthy. Well, I would need to experience you when you're so trustworthy in order to be able to tell if I did or not. You're not impressed enough? I mean, fuck you. I'll do it again. I'll do it again for you. You look in the bucket. An item of some kind. It's a teleporter room key. Fantastic. Frog Moon Violence. Notorious, trustworthy person. Notorious expert in how trustworthy people are. Never having done anything suspicious or dubious in their entire Twitch career. We got a teleporter room key, but we already found a teleporter room here, and we opened it. Got another door in it. I have no idea where I'm meant to go.
It's not Terry's. It's mine.
Impressed that the game is actually being played. We sometimes get a little bit off. We get a little bit off track. But I do attempt. I attempt to wrangle us back into the direction of what the stream was about. I mean, alternatively, we just do another stream testing stream, and I do some more writing of fun bot stuff. Which, honestly, I really enjoyed doing that. So maybe I'll do more of them. I also felt like I could probably get away with doing more of those if I did them without Mike. Then I could do them just whenever I want during the daytime. Let the stream run and let the channel stuff happen, like the bot stuff can happen. Even if there isn't necessarily like a lot of actual action happening on stream. Because part of what I needed to do that for was so I could test stuff. This isn't a teleporter room, is it? But Frog, we'll give you some chorange. The chorange is, of course, now Tony's. From Amsterdam. From Amsterdam, where Benki knows, which Benki knows very well. Hello, Benki. We were talking about going to Amsterdam. And how, while I am a guy who goes to Amsterdam, maybe even a lot, I surely am no match for the man of Amsterdam himself, Benki Line. Ah, that's what we call a clue. Okay. So you let your hair down. Your new PC's all set up. Fantastic. You tested out on Wilds. Very exciting stuff. We all look forward to it immensely. Throwing words. Yeah, honestly, something like that I could do. And I'm kind of, what I'm kind of planning on doing is having this stuff that I'm setting up right now be like my own stream game that's not words. But nothing wrong with having something like that just running, just as a filler, a placeholder basically, for actual stream activity. gonna try and have sleep, Frog. Good luck. You're gonna need it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for speaking to me in incredibly incomprehensible French. Question on your mind is whether you can have that soundbite of what I just said. What I just said? The man of Amsterdam himself, Benky Light. Sure. I feel like I was eating chocolate during it, so it may not be the best enunciation, but you are welcome to use it if you want to. Otherwise, you'll just have to trick me into saying something else involving your name, and use that instead. Carol might stream in 3 minutes. He might. Might he? He might. I feel like Carol always might stream in 3 minutes. You never know. You never know with that guy. He's unpredictable. I honestly, fully respect the no schedule streaming. I'm quite a big fan. Although, as somebody without a lot of... kind of have a lot of time commitments nowadays. But as somebody with kind of not many time commitments, it's not very inconvenient for me for people to go live randomly. But I can see how it would be for some people. With schedules, with actual responsibilities and schedules and such. Oh my god, is that a Melchi? Is that a Melchi in my stream?
And now for something completely different.
Oh my goodness. Welcome in, Melchi. How you doing? Ren Salotl, hello. I'm shouting in chat, apparently. Oh, I can't auto-complete his name because he hasn't typed anything yet. Melchi, type something so I can... There we go. Thank you. I'm trying to auto-complete your name. Oh, it's not doing it. Chatterina just doesn't like... It really isn't doing it. Yeah, I'll type it myself like a Neanderthal. Thank you for the raid. How are you doing? How was your stream? Thank you so much for coming on in. Ooh, what were you playing? Plate Up. Ooh, what have you been doing in Plate Up? You been playing with people? I do like a bit of Plate Up. I do like the Overcooked and the similar that kind of category of games. Kallax, for example, very good example of that kind of game. Thank you for the head rate. Right, I'm behind in chat again already. So let me fix that and catch up quickly. Question. I read that bit. We read that bit. You only said Frog wait. Oh, Frog wait, Carol might stream. This is tragic. Tragic for Frog's ability to go to bed. Hair is glorious, thank you. I do nothing with it. It just looks like this. I grew it myself though, so that's good. Good night, friends. Even Oscar Fierce, he wants to turn you into an extinct fish. Do I? That's news to me. I mean, it does kind of sound like me, I'll be honest, but I wasn't aware of that particular plan. I'll have to look into it. I know how good a job you did of cleaning the keyboard. You know the concept of sticky keys. Yeah, cleaning your keyboard. Honestly, I find cleaning my keyboard quite fun. It's like a nice little, just zen out and put some music on or a video or something and just go to work, go to town, and you go through it methodically. You get Q-tips or some kind of like pokey thing that you can get between the keys. It's quite fun, quite a nice little thing. And you get a nice clean keyboard at the end. And we all love that. Every time you go to Carol's Premium Streamium, you have lost your birthright VIP. Outrageous, CC. You'll have to spend all your points getting it back. Carol mentioned on Discord he might stream in 1 minute for a quick pre-vacation stream. My goodness. Well, that would be a treat, wouldn't it? Hello, Melch. How you doing? Hello, Salotl. Tried to shout out Melch. Yeah, I've done that in many streams. I've done that before. You wrote gag gag gag, which I assume is meant to say ha ha ha, but you wrote gag gag gag, and that's kind of funny. That's like a which cartoon character is it that laughs like that, like gag 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 gag, like a Popeye? Popeye, isn't it? Whitney's just over there laughing like Popeye. Hello, Wyra. You got all achievements. Well done. I have never looked at the Plate Up achievements, I don't think. Did some Out of Space and Plate Up with Salotl and Wyra. Well, that sounds delightful. If you don't know Melchi, guys, lovely friend of the stream, one of my fellow Kallax squad, where we play on Kelzaba's channel on Fridays. Kels is ready. Literally on a hair trigger, ready to go as soon as it's mentioned. But he does a lot of fun co-op stuff, doing multiplayer games, showing off. You're doing like a bunch of crafting games, like survival crafting games. You played Terraria and Core Keeper and some other things. I actually had to duck out when you started playing Terraria because you're using the Calamity mod, which I do want to play at some point, and I want to try and avoid too many spoilers of it. But yeah. Do, of course, go and get yourself rested if you want to de-stream yourself. Pour yourself into a bucket and relax. Get food, get drinks, get rest, get your legs, stretch your legs. Stretch your legs. There's the phrase I was looking for. The Neanderthals did indeed spend most of their time live typing stuff, I know. But like one letter at a time. With like one finger, I guess, like one finger like this. It's terrible when we have to backslide to that kind of activity. Doku, hello. What you should probably be doing, what you should probably be playing, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, TCG Shop Sim. What you're playing, Pokemon TCG Online. Nothing wrong with a free game, and also a card game. Like, you can't beat a card game, right? They will occupy my attention for millennia and will never stop. Yeah, as soon as I went, I realised it was Popeye, but when I thought it and read it, it didn't quite come to mind. I had that like immediate audio association with myself making the noise. Oh, look at everybody saying hi to each other. It's so sweet. We love it. You're all so cute. Benki gets around very quickly. Benki spreads around. We did say not entirely unlike chlamydia, but in a good way. We did have this metaphor. I say we. It was me. I said this. I had this metaphor where, you know, as soon as you come into contact with him, he'll stick to you and he'll follow you back home, and he'll be in your streams as well. But we love that because he's lovely. It's actually a very good thing. Don't worry about it. I may have undersold it by comparing him to chlamydia, which, when you put it like that, does seem like a negative thing. You're welcome. Anytime, Benki. Benki, I will compare you to chlamydia any day. You just give me the word. You prefer to play Yu-Gi-Oh, but the format right now is dreadful. I've always felt like Yu-Gi-Oh was a bananas like designed game that makes no sense and has no balance and has no like mechanical thought put into it. It's kind of just a kids' TV show that they sold a card game for. Really, that's kind of how it feels to me. As someone who played it a bit as a kid, but then, you know, I'm kind of spoiled by Magic, so it's hard to take any other card game seriously. Sparking Zero, Dragon Ball. I don't know that one. Is it some kind of Dragon Ball fighting game? There's a new Dragon Ball fighting game, isn't there? Is it that one? That came out like this month or last month? Same with Yu-Gi-Oh! You got Tenpai and Master Duel. Like, I feel like any time I spent playing a Yu-Gi-Oh! Game or a Pokemon card game would be time I would much rather spend playing Magic. I'm so deep into Magic that it seems a waste to do anything else. Oh, we're all shouting at each other again. Keep going. We love it. We love to see it. No resource system. Yeah, in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's the problem. It's just like I play a card, and you can sacrifice monsters, but there's only like one sacrifice and two sacrifice creatures, right? I guess there's maybe some special creatures that say when you play it you've got to do this, but it's not consistent. It's not like balanced it's not balanced like a cost. It's just on a card by card basis, a unique kind of situation for each one. It's not like you can compare them for requiring the same amount of cost to play or whatever. You're in and out of chat, so if you missed yelling at someone, consider yourself yelled at. Whitney is officially yelling at everybody. It has no balance, right? It's a good game when the format works. I don't know. It seems goofy. It seems silly. Help, your key gets stuck every time you use it. Benki, try cleaning out your keyboard. I think you need to clean it out again, to be honest. Put it in the bathtub. Maybe. Wash it clean. Sparking Zero, the follow-up to the PS2 era 3D fighting games. What did I... No, I'm thinking of a Naruto fighting game that I've seen. I don't know Dragon Ball or Naruto, to be honest. So I'm not up to date on what any of it all is. Any of the franchise, the games, or the film, or the series, or anything. Those are two animes that totally passed me by back in the day. The bath tube. Bath tube. It's like YouTube, but it's like when you watch YouTube in the bath. You're bath tubing. Actually, no. Bath tubing sounds like making YouTube videos when you're in the bath, which is a little bit more questionable. Whitney wouldn't yell at you specifically. Well, again. So Whitney did yell at you once, but wouldn't yell at you again. What a shame. My teeth. 0 teeth. Oh my goodness. I wonder how many teeth other people have. Just out of interest. Actually, no. Maybe the person who has teeth is not here. That's possible. Still stuck, the H key. That's bizarre. Is it physically getting stuck down, or is it just like a contact that's getting stuck? If it's the key getting stuck down, it's pretty easy to fix. You just take the key off and remove whatever's gunking up the works in there. If it's like the contact or the switch, it's a bit harder because it's kind of smaller and in there. Very archetype dependent. A lot of them do really fun and interesting varied things. The different games, you mean? I'm not very... Oh, you're talking about Yu-Gi-Oh! Possibly. Here's your argument why Pokemon and not Magic. Okay. Magic Online game sucks compared to this for entire beginners. You got 10 themed deck to start with, which you can change around any time between matches. So I don't really do the online game. I just play it free with whatever cards you want in a non kind of, what's the word? Mechanically restricted format. Like I don't play on Arena or whatever, like Magic Online. I just play on Tabletop Sim or Cockatrice, where it's just like, here's your deck, have fun. It just lets you do everything yourself, which is kind of more mechanically tricky to work around if you don't know the rules super well, so I can see why. I definitely think that Arena is quite good. I don't know how it compares in terms of like giving you free cards, but I don't really like the idea of having limited cards. That just seems like such a... It's not exactly pay to win, but it's kind of pay to win, right? If you want to make the best deck, you need to have this card, and this card, and this card. And if you don't have them, your deck's going to be weaker. But I also don't really play very competitively. I just play for fun. I just have a nice deck that's got a nice theme and feel to it. But then, again, sometimes there are cards in those decks that I want to have that aren't necessarily really powerful when they're not being used in a high-power deck, but still would be expensive to use to get in real life or in Arena. So, yeah, I much prefer playing an unrestricted formats like Cockatrice or Tabletop, where it doesn't tell you what decks you're allowed to use or what cards you're allowed to use. Key is off your Q-tipping. Good luck, Benki. I hope you don't need the H key anytime soon. I hope you can work around that restriction. Interesting. We're back on the PS2. 2 series were linked by changing the titles and localization. But previously there weren't any subtitles. Oh, Tenkaichi and Sparking Zero. What, there were 2 different Dragon Ball series? Or 2 different game series? And then they linked them. Put it in the dishwasher. Great idea, CC. Benki, that does not look fixed to me. You've stuck... Listen, your Benki's H key is so stuck that it's dragging everybody else's H keys down with it and sticking them to the keyboard. It's terrible. You think it's fine now? Very good. Congratulations on your cleaning activities. You cannot dishwash it. Not with that attitude, you can't. It's going to grow bacteria like your water bottle. Yeah. I washed my water bottle today before stream because it had been left for a little while. The paint? The H paint. Oh, on the key, like taking the key off and putting it in the dishwasher. Yeah, on some keyboards it would be just painted on, wouldn't it? The incredulity with which CC was like, what the fuck do you mean the paint on your keyboard? The thing is, it's probably not the cap. It's probably the switch underneath that is murky, more likely. Oh, well, no, I guess if the physical key is getting stuck down. But the key is easy to wash. It's what's underneath that's difficult. So to get a proper dishwasher going on, you got to take all the keycaps off and then put the keyboard in the dishwasher. You can clean the keycaps by hand, although there's so many of them that maybe it's impractical to do so. So take all the keys off, the keycaps off, put the keycaps and the keyboard in the dishwasher, then you're good. And then maybe you've got to figure out which key is which. Although most of them will fit in any slot, I'm sure. So once all the letters have been washed off, you just put them back on in any order, and then you figure out what they are by pressing them and seeing what letter comes up. Also a fun game. Sharpie's new letters. Yeah. Do them yourself. Little DIY. That looked really, honestly, that looked kind of cool. Like a handwritten keyboard. I kind of like that idea. Get blank keycaps and just handwrite the letters on. Might be awful, but I kind of like it still. 2 different game series. Dragon Ball Budokai and Dragon Ball Budokai Tenkaichi. 3D Arena Fighter. Right. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Sparking. Okay. Yeah, no, I have no knowledge of Dragon Ball and don't know what any of those extra words mean. But I'm very happy for you. Oh, sorry that happened. Keyboard low key sucks. Don't tell your friend who gave it to you. It's with love, right? It doesn't need to be the most effective or the most efficient. It means something, and that's important. Trying to ban Benki? Terrible. Oh, for the pun, I see. No, justifiable, actually. Take the switch off an F key. Oh, yeah, true. I think I wouldn't take the F keys off myself. I'd take off, like, not print screen, scroll lock, or pause. Pause is definitely the key that nobody uses. Honestly, I think I use every other key, at least occasionally. No, the right fucking Windows key. An Alt-Gur. Who uses Alt-Gur for anything? The right Windows key is redundant. Although then you might also have different layouts than me. But on this UK keyboard, Alt-Gur, useless. Right Windows key, useless. Pause button, useless. I would take those 3 off. Those are the 3 spares that I have if I need to replace a keycap. I can hear Cave Story music really faintly, and it's just like a nice, this is nice. It's a nice little vibe. CC will buy you a new keyboard, but the O key is going to be stuck. This is terrible. So you can't type my name properly. The knobbing beneath, not the key. Yes, that's where you got to put it in the dishwasher, because the dishwasher can get up in there and flush out the whole system, if you know what I mean. Nobody's nuts. Got him. Just pretends to be mechanical. Okay. Yeah, I assume if it's a cheap keyboard, it's not a proper mechanical one. It's like a membrane keyboard. You have an any key up above your page up key. Oh, like a custom one that you've made for when it says press any key. That's clever. I like that. Yeah, that's where pause is, and which is a really unhelpful key, which almost never does anything in any application, as far as I'm aware. Certainly nothing that you need. Hello, Xana. Posture check, if you insist. Sit up straight. I wasn't shrimping too badly. I was just a little bit of a slouch, a little gentle slouch. Nothing worse for a programmer than for your keyboard to suddenly switch to French Canadian, the semicolon and $sign. Oh god. Swap and a scatter, yeah. No, the US layout and the UK layout are almost the same, but the main thing is that the quotation mark, which is shift 2, and the @ symbol, which is over here, swap places, and that's very upsetting. With how much you write quotation marks, more than @. I guess if you type on Twitter a lot, I don't know, or you do social media where you @ people a lot, the app maybe makes sense to be more prominent. But quotation marks seem so useful, right? You use them all the time. I use them all the time. I'm seeing one right there. I'm seeing 2 sets of quotation marks right here in chat in this very second, before I even mentioned them. So clearly, quotation marks are pretty important. Your key that says remove in German. Oh god. Remove on pain of death. Remove in case of emergency. I don't know. How you doing, Zano? Welcome in. Good to see you. Need to clean your keyboard, but taking the keys off feels like breaking it because it's a low pro keyboard, so the caps are also low pro. Right. Yeah, my keycaps don't come off super well, and I do feel like I want to break them. But they haven't yet. They've held out. Partner built your keyboard. He thinks he is witty. I see. Very, very hilarious. Very droll. Your H key's still sore. Ah, sorry about that. Try and go easy on it. Yeah, just ha ha ha. Just Brazilian. No, that's a Spanish, hasn't it? Ha ha ha. Or do the Brazilian with the X instead. That's ha ha ha. Or do Whitney's Popeye laugh, which is ga 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 ga. Also very good. The funny thing about the Spanish laugh is that I always read it as ya 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 ya, because I knew that J was a Y sound in a lot of European languages, like Germanic languages, and I didn't realise it was an H in Spanish. So I read it as ya 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 ya, and I was like, that's weird for a laugh. Until I learned about Spanish. Benki replacing the H's with J's. See, now, typing Whitney's name with the J doesn't really make sense. You have to put the J after the I, because IJ is very common in Dutch. But that'd make it Whitney, which is also questionable. But no, you made her very Dutch there with the J. The J is adding a bit of Netherlands flavour to it. You can buy these exact keycaps. That's always good. These Logitech ones, I like the Logitech keyboards, especially this one. But they do have their own proprietary switches and keycaps, which is kind of shitty of them. It's a very Apple thing for them to do. So next time I get one, I think I'm going to get something more customizable and replaceable. GK. Ooh, I don't know about that one. Portuguese is RS. Huh? Rus. Well, what say if I want to call my cat to me? Why would it be RS? There's not even a vowel sound there. I guess... No. In Portuguese? I don't know Portuguese very well. I know very small amounts of Portuguese, like... not language exactly, but just the... grammar, almost. Not the grammar even. Just the phonemes, like the way that the words are constructed. And most of that is, like, in context of it being similar to Spanish, which is not that much. It kind of feels a bit like Spanish, but it's not entirely. But yeah, RS being a laugh makes no sense to me. Although I guess in French it's murder, which is hilarious, because it looks like everyone's saying murder. But it's moderia, which is laughing to death, or something. As, or death by laughing, which is a hilarious way to say it, like, just like very extreme. Everybody else is like, lol, laugh out loud, laughing my ass off. French are like, I'm laughing so much I'm dead. Whoa, guys, calm down. I don't trust the French, you know. That and personal experience. Gotta go to bed, Benki. Have a good bed. Thank you for hanging out. I will see you later. Say hi to Carol for me. Hopefully I'll be there later. Whenever you clean the keyboard, you rip all the keys off like a barbarian. Excellent, good start. And then put them in a little cleaning solution while I dry scrub the board and let the keys dry and see if you can put them back on correctly by memory. A fun little game to play. Every single time you have the admission to clean your keyboard, it's mid-meeting. You regret taking it apart. I get that. I also feel like, because this is the problem, right? Where it only becomes annoying when you're doing something that's annoying. And doing something annoying and also trying to clean the keyboard at the same time is double annoying, which is not a good situation to be in. Whereas taking the time to do it when you don't have anything urgent to do is much more fun and much more relaxing. It's kind of like trying to switch your controller scheme in Hollow Knight while you're fighting a difficult boss from control stick to D-pad. If you do it while you're fighting a difficult boss or a difficult platforming section, it's going to be a bad time because you'll have to contend with the difficulty of the game and also the difficulty of switching controls. So which is why you do it during the peacetime, the nice walk around Forgotten Crossroads, hitting bugs, having a good time. Switch then, get used to the D-pad. Then when you get to the difficult stuff, you'll be used to it and that you will only have to contend with one vector of difficulty and not two. That's my professional advice. Stands for Resadas. Wow. So it's just like an abbreviation of laugh. It's like if we had like LG as our, because that's the word for like the abbreviation of the laugh, L and G, I guess. It's strange to abbreviate something like French does as well and not have it be phonetic. It's strange to me. Anxiety has you. Oh, Xano's method gives you anxiety, yeah. Just full chaos mode. Need a space to take them off and lay them out in order. I mean, you can get you can look up a keyboard layout, right? As long as you do it beforehand, so you're not like, how do I type keyboard layout when all my keys are off? Pull it up beforehand, and then clean, and then consult the reference to replace it. You'll be fine, Doing decent, just tired, aren't we all? Hopefully you can get some sleep on the weekend. Lie in tomorrow, on Sunday. Seems fair. You like number and F keys. Alright, yeah. We can all count from 1 to 9, that's probably. 1 to 12, I guess. Probably reasonable. Black Rose, are you jumping off? Thank you for hanging out. Have a good sleep. I will speak to you soon, I'm sure. Sana has a DM to send to Whitney. Ominous. Cece's laughing at me, of course. I would expect nothing less. It's time for the bed. It probably is time for the bed, kind of, but doesn't always work out like that. Same with Petit Mort. Love dying when happy. That's true. Petit Mort, yes. The French just die a lot. And it's great. They're very nihilistic. They're just like, haha, what a wonderful situation. It's like I'm dead. And everyone's like, what? Okay. PTDR. PTDR. There's something else down here. We could have used D-pad for a White Palace. Yeah, no, I met Whitney. Whilst she was doing White Palace in Hollow Knight for the first time. And that was fun. What a good time. Take a picture of the keyboard. Benki, you're a genius. Can't believe you've cracked the case wide open like this. Let's play a fucking cave story. One of these people is going to be someone, right? It's going to be Sue. And I think she's going to give me a key or a password to get somewhere. Because I think what I need to do is get a Mimiga disguise. So the other Mimiga will talk to me, like the ones in the rest area. Why this sprinkler? Why are you complaining about this sprinkler? God, it's so good. You're not doing anything. Why are you just standing still? The hole. Little sneaky secret. Passage. Beg your pardon. Statue chamber. Hello? Hello? This fucking guy. Like a gremlin. Looks like Gizmo. You speak? Do you not speak? Holder. Anatuponi, Miyakido, the Doctor. Why? Why is this place? What is happening? Part of what makes this game so incredible, I think, is its complete refusal to tell you what the fuck is going on. I respect that so much. I endeavour to carry that energy into everything I do, including my stream. Especially my stream. But boy, it's confusing to do it in the moment. Door somewhere nearby. Oh wait, is it the door over here? Am I a fool? This was a locked door. I thought it was a locked chest. Where's the locked chest? There was a locked chest somewhere here. I thought this had a locked chest in it. Hello? Is this a disguised Sue? Arthur's house? God. I found you, killer robot. Oh no. Hey you, are you dead or something? Gulp. Oh, you're awake. Oh, it's the guy from the village. They all have Halloween skins and it's very weirdly perturbing. I thought you were already dead. Sue would smack you and you wouldn't move an inch. This place is a jail. Those who oppose the Doctor are locked up here. To be used as test subjects for his ongoing experiments. Sue said so. Are you a friend of hers? You're a little bit too late. She was here as well. She was worried about you so much. It was only a few minutes ago that she was carried off. Alright. Alright. Let's see how it is. I'm locked in because it's jail. I guess that makes sense. But wouldn't it be nice if there was some kind of little secret passage? Maybe there's no secret passage. And by the way, you snuck something into your pocket while she was taken away. What? Sue's letter? Oh my god. Got a letter. Hey, it's me, Sue. Oops, I probably want to read that properly. That's a fucking lot of text to skip. Oh my god. Yes. I don't remember telling you anything about us. We came to the island as a research group. It was me, my mum, Kazuma, Professor Booster, and a few assistants. The Doctor was with us too. He was supposed to take care of our medical needs, and did, I guess. But that all changed when he found the Demon Crown. The crown used to belong to the master of this island, and grants immense magical powers to the person who dons it. The Doctor knew about it well before coming to the island. It's the reason he forced himself into our group. After we grabbed hold of the crown, that was pretty much it. We couldn't do anything about it. The only thing we could do was continue the research of this island under his command. He seeks to rule the surface using the island as a flying fortress. From what I can tell, he plans on attacking the surface with the enraged Mimiga army. I was able to escape, however. The other researchers are probably... Of course, he's using the innocent Mimiga to grow a large quantity of the red flowers. And once he's ready to attack, he's going to send the Mimiga into a state of insane rage by feeding them red flowers. With his powers from the crown, he'll control them and me too. If you can get out of jail, please look for a hidden safe house somewhere within the plantation. If my mum is still alive, she'll be there working on a plan of her own to beat the Doctor. Please help her as much as you can. Before I forget, the password to get into the safe house is Cave Story backwards. Okay. Okay. The maximum possible percentage on Hollow Knight. I do. But yes. Okay, I'm trying to think. There are some achievements that you can miss. And I think at least one of them is one where you'd need to do one thing or another thing. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, you would need to do 2 playthroughs to get everything. The maximum percentage you can possibly get in the game is, 112%. But not all of those achievements are percentages. The achievements are slightly separate, but mostly they will like tie into percentage completion points, but not always. Funnily enough, the sort of the main, not the first ending that you got, but the second ending, I guess, true ending, is not a percentage completion, as far as I can remember. I don't think it is, which is a very strange way to do it, but there you go. But you're almost done, right? Didn't you? Weren't you at like 109 or something? You'll wander a bit more. Yeah, it's definitely the respectable way to do it. Or full respect for people who want to just be lost and confused for a while. It's a good state to be in. Oops. Oh. Can I? Wait. Hold up. Can I not get back up there now? I can probably do it later. Assume it's fine. Probably fine. You're the hero Sue's been talking about. I'm glad. I am Momorin Sakamoto, Sue's mother. I took my chance working at the doctor's side, but after the flower seeds were located, I was of no use to the doctor. I was thrown off the island unceremoniously. Not very nice. Men who treat women without respect are barbarians. Anyway, that aside. Presently building a rocket for you. Okay. It will take you all the way up to the doctor's throne. But evidently I don't have enough of the parts. Oh, I need to borrow that booster from you. No! My booster! My booster! But I've still got enough of the necessary parts to complete the rocket. Are you busy now? Yes? Let me just... The door here. Oh, it's a save point. Fair enough. 108. Ah. I mean... You said you hadn't done the Colosseum yet. And I think the remaining things are mostly going to be very difficult. But you did Path of Pain. Honestly, if you can do Path of Pain, you can do most of the rest of the game. I think the final achievement is really hard. But I bet that you can do the rest of it. And that last achievement isn't a percentage. I'm pretty confident. If you can beat Path of Pain, and you're not, like, really put off of fighting bosses, I think you can get full completion for sure. Steel Soul. Yeah, well, Steel Soul does have achievements, so you would need to... you would need to get the... if you want to go for like full completion in terms of achievements as well, you would need to do it. Carol says hi. Hi, Carol. I don't know if you're watching, but hi. And hello, friends who say hi to Carol. Thank you. Haven't done Path of Pain. You haven't, right? No, I remember this coming up before. Whitney, I've got a suggestion for a stream for you. Yeah, I mean, I don't really feel compelled to get 100% completion in games just because. But if it's a game I really like, it's a much more appealing process. But having said that, there are games I love, like Bastion is a great example. I've never played score attack mode in Bastion. Partially because it doesn't feel like the way Bastion should be played. It's not like a scoring game. It's like a narrative adventure, you know, combat and fun. But I never thought that score was an aspect of the game that I felt was mattered. My slash is annoying me. So I never tried score attack mode, so I don't have that one achievement. I should, maybe, just to get the 100%. but I don't know. Didn't really appeal to me as a mechanic, so I didn't bother. The Celeste, interesting. I'll have to look at what Celeste is. I've done a lot of Celeste, like, main path, I guess. I haven't done many B-sides or C-sides. I got all the strawberries, except for a couple in the core, and I haven't finished Farewell yet, but I've done most of Celeste, like, A-side journey. CC actually got, I mean, CC beat Path of Pain. That's about the hardest thing there is in Hollow Knight, except for one achievement. The Certain Fragile Task, that is really difficult. But I think you can beat difficult boss fights by being godlike and never getting hit, or by learning their patterns and learning where you can heal and where you can attack and where you can safely dodge, and sort of you can have a very flawed run where you still win because you know how to make up for those mistakes, right? Whereas the flower, you have to do it flawlessly, right? The flower, I think the flower is also one of the hardest things to do in the game, to be honest. So that is expected. That's expected that that's difficult, that you would struggle with it. Don't get much about 100% unless on your original playthrough you get really close. Yeah, that's fair. Don't want 100%, yeah. I mean, I really like to get 100% just as a, like, yes, I've got it for this game that I really like. But I also haven't done that for Bastion, and if there's ever a game I was going to do it for, it's Bastion, where I have one achievement left. I did grind the other achievements that were, like, beat the dreams with certain debuffs applied. Because that was fun, that felt like part of the game, whereas Score Attack doesn't really feel like part of the game to me. I should try it, to be honest, it might be fun, it might be cool. But yeah, clearly I don't have that much of a strong compulsion to finish a game, even if I love it, even if I'm really close, because I have one achievement left in Bastion, I've never even tried it. So, I don't know. Depends, I guess. But then Hollow Knight I really wanted to, and Outer Wilds I really want to, and I will do that soon. Core is such a pain. Core was tricky just because of the way that the bouncing mechanic works, where you hit something and it bounces you off it, but there's like such a sort of precise angle where you hit it from this angle and you go this way, and that's fine to land on the platform here, but you hit it at like 3 degrees lower and you go this way, and that's no good. So it's a little bit funky, but I enjoyed the core anyway. I like the mechanic, I like the kind of switching between hot and cold mechanic was cool. Farewell's very cool, although I can see it getting more difficult. I think I'm like a third of the way through it or something, quarter of the way through it. I heard it's also very long. Carol does not want to say hi again. Well, I will be the bigger man and I will say hi to Carol for a third time. Hi, Carol. I don't know if you're watching, but this is a formal greeting from me to you. Whether you want to say hi back to me or not, that's fine. I understand. I can take it. You're mad though, you got really close on Roller Drama. You can't figure out how to get even 2 achievements, and it's not a well-played game, so there's no info. No, we had that problem with Kallax, didn't we? Where achievements weren't working, and there's no information about it, so you can't look up how to get the achievements. Got so close to delivering the flower. 3rd time you tried, and then 10 more tries. No, I've done that with bosses. There was a Dark Souls 3 boss, Dancer of the Boreal Valley, for those who know it, where my first try, I got her down to a hit, and I did the cardinal sin of a FromSoft game, which is to get greedy and go like, no, just that last hit, just give me that last hit, just give me that last hit, and I kept fucking it up, or it wasn't a good time to go for the hit. There was no way for me to attack her there, because she was attacking me. So I just greeded out and just took like several hits and died, with 1 hit left to go to win. And then, it took me like 10 or so tries to beat her. Very, very upsetting. Because it's like, you know that you were like so close to greatness, like first try that boss, or beat this really quick, really difficult challenge in a really good time, and then one little fuck up or one little bit of greed or mistake or slip of concentration, and now you're consigned to this endless grind of trying to do it over and over again. Very sad. Right, a Mimiga mask so we can talk to the Mimiga. That's what I thought was going to happen. I can chat to the Mimiga. Excellent. Get one of the sprinklers, yes. And my mask is, of course, a pumpkin, because it's Halloween. Happy Halloween. I don't have the booster anymore, though. This is terrible. I don't have my rocket booster. Red flowers being grown. Yep. They're all pro red flowers. It's terrible. Long live the Great Doctor. Oh, can I get over there? Yeah, you actually got a really good jump in this game. A really solid jump height. Why aren't you working? Please, game. I play video games to escape capitalism. It broke again. We're exchanging the sprinkler with a new one. Amazing. Got a broken sprinkler. We need some electricity from this sprinkler. I guess maybe they have batteries in them.
It's not Terry's. It's mine.
Water.
The only exception by Paramore. Okay. I know that one. It's slow, isn't it? Like more of a ballad. Okay. Thank you for the redeem. I will get right on that. And also, hello, how you doing? That was quite a way to spell Cece's name. Eli's on board, excellent. Well, hang on now. I'm going to have to ask the Mimiga where to get any batteries from. Carol hates me, actually. That doesn't sound right. I don't know if that's trustworthy information. Like I'm being fake newsed. This is so sad. Not telling me where to go. Okay. I'm gonna have to guess. You're lying this time. This time. Only this time. Me when I'm a robot that contains a heart and a soul. We got a sprinkler. Amazing. Did indeed not say that. Making the situation as clear as mud, thank you. Ah! Injuring me. He would come and debunk the rumours, but did he? No. That's... Good point. Oh, no, I'm not actually meant to be bringing this person back the sprinkler, of course. I was like, here's your sprinkler, boss. Just like you asked. There we go. A man by the name of Ito. A famous technician. The big fat coward. First to run from the doctor. Is he in jail? booster. This is terrible. This is why the steps. This is why you stand up. That's the thing about stepping on the fish. Of course. There we go. A little bit of platforming. Not home to the song exactly. It's powerful. Arthur's house. Let's check this. It's so good. Like everything about this game is good. Just nailed it all. Oh, this is. You know, we tried to teleport here, and that's when we got kidnapped. Arrested, I guess is the word. Depending on how legitimate you think the arrest is. Hello. Oh no, that's not what I want. How tall am I? That's proprietary information on a need-to-know basis. Actually, 6.5 feet tall. I feel like I've mentioned it. Maybe on stream, probably on stream at some point. I actually haven't measured myself in a while. I don't keep very good track of it. But I'm like 5'7", 5'8", so like a little bit below average for a male height, I think. But about average in general human being height. That's not that tall. 5'7"? 5'7" is absolutely not a tall height. Oh, 6'5". I did say 6'5", but I was in fact lying to you. I said 5'7". 5'7" or 5'8". I will happily round up to 5'8" if people will allow me to. But I haven't actually measured myself genuinely in a while. Since I was like in my 20s, probably. CC's so tall. CC has, I don't know. CC reminds me of Pastel in terms of like height. In terms of like the what energy of height they give off. I feel like Pastel could be tall, but also could be short. I feel like Pastel on stream is tall, and Pastel in chat is short. And CC's only ever in chat, so I guess CC must be short. But I don't know. I don't know how tall Pastel is either. That's tallish, isn't it? Is that not quite 6 foot, but almost? I don't actually know my centimetres very well. Because despite being in Europe, theoretically, the UK uses feet for human height, just across the board, pretty much. This is no good. Where is my guy that I'm looking for? $183. Okay, so my estimate was correct. I was thinking of 180 as being about 6 foot, but I'm pretty sure it's slightly less than 6 foot, technically, but about the same. 178. Yeah, I guess I'm like 170. I don't even know how many centimeters is in an inch, to be honest. I guess I could work it out from that if 6 foot is how many inches? 72? So it must be 2.5 centimeters to an inch, roughly. Right? That makes sense. So I am somewhere in the region of 169 centimeters, maybe? Something like that. Somewhere about there. Did you see the maths I just did? This is what you get on this stream. Every other streamer, literally every other streamer in the world, complains about maths whenever it comes up. And I'm like, fucking give me the maths, I will eat it, I will consume the maths. I will do a Sudoku right now. Just fucking watch me. Not that Sudokus usually involve much maths, technically. More logic. 2.54 centimeters, of course. I will be entirely disregarding that 4. As I'm sure you will understand. There's not even anybody over here, is there? Because Santa's not there. I don't know that there's anything to do here. It isn't Metric's fault that... No, I fully agree that Metric is superior. I just don't know it because it's not used here. No one talks about people's heights as being in centimeters, so I don't have any kind of, like, reinforcement of what a centimeter is, what, like, different numbers mean in terms of height. Whereas I see people say, like, oh, yeah, that guy's, like, 6 foot, that guy's, like, 5'10". That person's, 5'3". So I kind of have a gist of what heights are in feet and inches, but not in centimeters. Is it? Oh, it could be just one of these people, I guess. No, I talked to them all already, didn't I? Metric the band. I'm a big fan of Metric the band. I like Metric. I had a bit of a phase of listening to their stuff, like, last year or something. I listened to, like, a bunch of their albums while I was at work, so I could not tell you a single thing about any of the song names or the lyrics, so I was not able to watch them as I played, like I normally would like to do. But I like the music. I want to say Combat Baby is the one that I know from before then. You prefer F over C for weather? I mean, weather is a fairly arbitrary number, right? There's nothing saying that 30 is hot and 10 is cold, or in Fahrenheit where like 80 is hot and 50 is cold, or whatever it is. Those are entirely arbitrary, so whichever one you're used to is fine. But as temperatures that are used for things that are more precise, Fahrenheit has got some explaining to do. It's like it's fine if the only thing that temperature was used for was how warm it feels today compared to yesterday. But when temperature is also a very important thing for lots of, cooking or chemicals or storage of things, like food storage, I feel like having a more robust system is worthwhile. And there is no loss in using that system to also describe the temperature of the weather, because it's an arbitrary number anyway. 0 degrees F. Yeah, I've seen that argument, but that's also kind of arbitrary, because like what is very cold and what is very hot is also kind of arbitrary. Like, what is 0 F? Isn't it like... I know that minus 30 F is minus 30 C, but 0 F must be like minus 10 or something, somewhere in that ballpark. Which obviously, like, it can get to minus 10, So, I mean, in some parts of the world, I guess it makes more sense to have -10 as a, like, 0 as a reference point. But I feel like in places where it gets to -10, it doesn't tend to get to 100. Or I guess in places where it gets to 0F, it doesn't also tend to get to 100F. So those two being, like, satisfying numbers that you can refer to as very hot and very cold are kind of weirdly unrelated to each other, if that makes sense. -40, sorry, not 30. Go yell at Benki, he has to sleep because he's gymming in the morning. Cece's going to go yell. Cece's going to go off this stream, over to Carol's stream. Like, swing on a rope, I assume. Like a pirate boarding another ship to Carol's stream. Shout at Benki, and then swing back, but who knows? Maybe Cece's had enough of my ship. Fair, to be honest. You swap tabs? No, but imagine you swinging on a rope. We're playing into the mystique here. The mythos. This is very important. Are you the guy? You are not confessing to being the guy. God damn it. 100 degrees C, you are dead, yeah. 100 degrees C would be a bad time. Ito. Yes, there he is. Got him. Controller. You got a controller. Now we can play the game, guys. We've done it. I have to say the password every time I go in here. Oh, we'll just go to bed now. We're going to go to bed just like Benki should be doing. Rested, hooray. Gonna eat this sprinkler? Nope. That's fine. You convert oven temperatures to C. I don't know. I don't have a good like mental map of how you convert them on the fly. Eli has bad news. The window's split across one screen. I do that sometimes. I'll have like 2 streams on one screen, and then something else that I'm doing, a game or whatever, on another screen, or work. I also, CC, do you pan the audio for your streams when you're watching 2 at once? I love that. It makes it so much easier to focus on 2 streams at once. Like I can genuinely, you know, not 100% effectively, not like at 100% capacity, but I can listen to 2. Yes, you do. Awesome. I can listen to 2 streams at once and, you know, respond and react to both of them at once if they're panned. If they don't pan them, it's like really, really hard. I have real trouble with it. Booster! Is it more powerful? Oh, not more powerful. Ah, my legs. So we're going up there, going to destroy the core, and that's the end of the game, I think. I'm back. Yeah. No, if I destroy the core of the island, we'll become human, I think. Oh, hello. Oh! Oh. There we go, and that's the end of that. I feel like I must have missed a life capsule, because I've got 45 health right now. And it feels like 50 would make sense, wouldn't it? Or maybe it's even more than that. I'm going to try and talk to that person who stood on the ledge, because I'm curious. If they're going to let me, I'm going to do it. Hello. It's been a while. Woof. Been hired as a courier. This is for you. Health! 50 health! And a life pot. Oh, we can heal. Oh, that's good. We love that. Tell Curly I said hi. Oh no. I have terrible news. Whoop! Oh, okay. Guess we fall. Fine. I don't have the booster equipped. This is a problem. I wonder. I don't think anywhere here is... Oh, but what was at the top right? I can try that as well. Got my hair down, I will do so. Go anywhere? There's a door here. Yes, of course, this is what I was trying to get to before, isn't it? This is the prison. Ah, that's not actually helpful. Curses. I can't get back in here, though. That's devious. Can't believe we've done this. Those are indestructible smashing death blocks. That's not good. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Alright, I think we're going to do it. I might just go save, just to be sure. This might be the end. The end times, my friend. Let's go. Let's go. Too slow. Final cave. Oh god. An intimidating name, that is. Right. Yeah, a bit more range would be good. Eli, my hair is down. I may have not particularly whooshed it out, but I did take my hair down. I did it very quickly. I didn't release it from behind the headphones, but it is down. Like I'll even like side swish it for you, so it's like some kind of fancy hairstyle, such like that people like me would not have. I would never have fancy hair. I feel like I want to go here. No? Alright. Alright. Hitting me. You butts. Or at least give me health if you're gonna hit me, then at least give me health when I kill you. Only fair. A lot of rockets. Ow, fuck me. Alright. Health. Ow, you shit. Fucking hell. Oh, that was disastrous. The enemies all look so funny with the Halloween skins. They're like way more innocent than I expect them to be. And the enemies in this game are all kind of cute anyway. But they're especially like harmless looking with these little goofy outfits on. You added, oh, one slightly less wordy dangerous song. Fantastic. I have not looked at it yet, but I don't know if I... Is there a way to, like, have Spotify tell me when songs are added to a playlist? I don't know if there is. So you may need to inform me when you update the playlist. But that's definitely easier than telling me a load of songs every time. So, probably the easiest way to do it still. Oh, you cheeky bugger. I was ready to boost out of there. Ah, give me the Dorito. I want it. Oh, it ain't coming. It ain't coming. Once every hour in case you want stuff. Absolutely. I will do so. Immediately. I'll set a rolling reminder on my phone. A 1 hour alarm that when I dismiss it, sets itself again for 1 hour later. Only fair. I don't know how intentional it is that I just do this and shoot them from the top there, but it works great. Oh, cheeky bugger. Got the health back, please. You just took from me. Problem is, they're doing 6 damage with every hit, and I'm getting 2 health back when I get health back, which is not every time. You'll fall beyond this point. What if I want to? Okay. The game is, giving me the hint that I shouldn't do that. During long sleeps. I see. I'll set like an algorithm. Keep me updated in my dreams. To inject the new songs into my brain. Hello? Helicopter? Ah. Save point? Amazing. Whitney, squeaky clean. Have you purged the impurities from your flesh? We'd love to see it. Definitely the best way to describe that. The least I can do, of course. Oh boy, this guy is... Oh, he's doing the blasties. He's doing the mouth blasties. Ouch. Fine. Please die. Please die now. Thank you. Very, very, very convenient of you. Eli's trying to avoid me again. Trying to avoid my warranty. Ooh, hello. Found something. We found a thing, guys. Thing and or place. I can't... Oh, I can't open this, okay. Oh, it's just Doritos. Not that good. End of the road. Oh. Interesting. Strange way to do that, but okay. Stop, stop, stop. You're leaping, you're pouncing. What do you mean, oop? Acting like it was an accident. I will not fall for your deceptions. Oop to more road. Oh, unfortunately, it was returned me back. Oh, it's misery. Okay. I miss the misery. It's you again. You really are tenacious to destroy the core. Is that why you're here? Before I thought you were just a reckless little robot, but I underestimated you. You'd know I have no regrets about this island. It's my fate to obey the one who wears the crown. Prepare yourself. Ah. Boss. Okay. Ah. Where is she? Stop that. Stop that, you. Oh, they slammed down. Not what I want. Oh, God. A little bit low on the old health right now. Ha. Are they going to go up at me? No. Okay, this is going fine. Fucking black guys. Sorry, not a good choice of words there. These spheres that are chasing me down are a problem. I don't think I can fit under there. They're going to get me up. Oh, there's a terrible amount of stuff. A terrible amount of stuff for me to deal with. Let me just get them out of the way. There we go. Fucking music as well. So good. Almost got her. Almost got her. Ah! Oh, shit. She spawned right on top of me and I shot her from the inside and then skipped the dialogue. A D-pad supremacy. Oh, for sure, yeah. Very, very four-dimensional. Four-dimensional? Two-dimensional. Very two-axis. Two-axis, that's the word. Defeated misery. Wonderful. Buy her dinner. Well, she's the one who appeared inside of me. Or on top of me. Listen. Listen. Y'all see me play Hades? doctor's afraid of us. That's why he puts us in jail. There's no mistaking it. Hey, you're the traveller I met a while back at my house. You've come to save me? Yeah, I guess so. Theoretically. Why is he Dracula? I was going to say, is that the Doctor? No, surely not. It totally is. He's just in Dracula garb. Hades nuts. Nero. I'm going to post it in my Discord because it's so important. Oh, no, Nero, you did see on Frog's Discord, I think, didn't you? I'm going to repost it again. Can I? This is important content, okay? That we all need to be aware of. There we go. Hades characters ranked by how likely they are to say Hades nuts. I think it's a very important subject. There is some back and forth, but I think there's a very strong trend in certain directions with certain characters. It's very. I think it's very fitting for the theme and the tone of the game. D-pads are overrated. CC. I will ban you for 600,000 seconds. You did see that? Yes, good. Would never pass their lips, yeah. I feel like Cerberus would, but he can't speak, so it's kind of hard to argue that he would. I feel like if he could, then he would. Finally, it's complete. Oh, I get to do a Dracula voice. He's going to be a Dracula. Mimmaga become enraged when we introduce the red flower as a form of medication. It's because it's rather simple. The red flower brings out latent abilities. Not only this, but it contains a compound that destroys one's reasoning. And now I have successfully extracted and intensified it. Which is this. Maybe I went a little bit Italian right there. The red crystal. And this red crystal, it works on humans as well. Ha ha ha! Amazing. Do you understand how extraordinary this is? You don't understand, do you? Well then, I will give you a very special lecture now. Oh, it's the boy. It's Dr. Acula. Is this weapon the best choice? I don't know if it is. Ow! Piss me. Whoop! Oh! I dodged that with expert skill and timing. Ah! Oh, it bounces off the walls as well. Fantastic. Ow! Notice that I didn't heal before that either. It didn't give me a save point. Oh, they kind of did. Almost did. What? You were facing the other way. Do I use a different weapon? The sword? The sword would kind of... The slashes of the sword would go through his, like, shields. Maybe. I didn't get fully healed, which is excruciating. Maybe I just have to get good. Actually, the laundry again. I did it a week ago, and somehow the clothes are in need of wash. Yes. No, it's tragic. It's constantly a problem in our lives. Got to fight her again, and then the doctor. That's rough. This is rough. Teeting time. Teeting time. Ooh, we're doing some teeting. Oh, the sword goes level down really fast, doesn't it? That's a problem. It's also really short range when it isn't full level. Not good. Can't hit the black spheres. Leveled up and then leveled down immediately. Fantastic. Okay, not too bad. Set up for teaching time, it requires you to name things. Yes, this is a problem. I was doing some... I did a little bit of setup earlier, so some of the stuff that you might have seen last stream is now more developed, and there's some new bits of it. But it still isn't fully... Not every path, every branch is explored, because I would need to write so much. I've got to get into a writing mood. Narrative writing, game writing. And that's a lot of work. I can't leave here. I can't save before the final boss. Is heinous. I don't know if it is the final boss, but it's definitely a final boss. Definitely has a very final vibe, doesn't it? You've named several things in your home. Naming a few things is fine. It's when you've got like a list of 25 things. Name all of these, and you're like, oh god. Here is your boy. Why did you do 1 damage? That's not appropriate, surely. Yet. Oh. Holy shit. God. This weapon just seems so good. Seems no point in using anything else. There we go. Oh my god. Game mode is a bit loud. I thought it was kind of low. Ah! Oh no! The power is out of control. Oh god. Oh yeah, right. Okay. Let's see how it is. Ooh, Jesus. Bats! Too many bats! Too many bats! That is too many bats, my guy. Okay. We blew him up real fast. Blah! Hey, melting! Melting! Defeated Dr. Acula. Fantastic. Gerald. Gerald? Gerald Carpenter's Void Saber. Who's Gerald? I want to meet Gerald. You did well. I feel a little like a celebrity. Sue? Yeah, I know her. That girl looks like a Mimiga, but she's really a human, isn't she? My eyes can't be fooled. She's not here, though. Not bad at all. What are these little red-faced guys? They're the other humans, I guess. You remember me? I lost my key in Bushlands. Gotcha. Yeah, that doctor's a bad guy. Sure is. That's Santa, right? That guy? Oh, wait a minute. Does he have a Santa hat? He kind of has a Santa hat, I think. It's not super clear because it's through the cage. But his name is Santa, and I think they've given him like a Santa outfit for Halloween, which is pretty funny. It's pretty funny! This is jokes. Gerald Carpenter was 100% the person who first discovered the void. Gerald Carpenter. Wow. What an unassuming name for such a legend. Something is named Barrett. Barrett D's Nuts? Berry D's Nuts? Any kind of name that is unusual to me is always like, I just assume it's going to be something involving a D's Nuts joke. Why do they have lips? What is this Rocky Horror ass? Oh no. Hold it right there. Oh, it's misery again. Okay. The vacuum is called the attack vac. Fridge is Rachel the refrigerator. Wanda the washer. Debbie the dryer. Cameron the front gate camera. Darnell the dishwasher. Ophelia the oven. Samuel the stovetop. And smart appliances. Right. Well, that kind of makes sense because you got to give them a name. I do that with my computers. I give my computers names. I name them all after Pokemon. Your vacuum is named Sigurd. The fan is Astrid. The dishwasher is Bob. The tomato plant is Barrett. Bob. Bob is a fun one. That doesn't sound like a Danish name, but I guess it could be. Albert. I remember you saying your PC was called Albert. Yes. Stay away from the core if you care for this one's life. For a robot, you seem to have human emotions. You're different from the others who came here many years ago. To think that the new king was defeated by you. Even so, we'll make a deal. You can fall to your doom with the island, or you can forget about everything here and leave. If you leave here right now, I will guarantee her life. Otherwise, I won't let you escape, said the doctor. Already forgotten your master's voice. Ah, the power of the red crystal is incredible. Even now I feel so alive. Although my body has succumbed, my consciousness is clear. My pronunciation is somewhat questionable. It feels as if I have become a superhuman. Unbelievable. What's wrong, Misery? Is this form dreadful? Ugh, those who cheat death. Disappear. Oh, well, you can't be helped. Those foolish enough to forget their master need not free will. Misery. Until the day you die, you will be my puppet. Will, I guess. I need to hit those W's like V's. Oh, Jesus. Hey. We've got to go. Oh, it's Princess Peach. I just noticed. I saw she had like a yellow... I thought it was a crown. Oh, it's also a crown at the front, isn't it? But she's got a Princess Peach outfit. That's so cute. My God. Your car is Alfie or Alfia. License plate named it. Nice. My instruments I kind of name, but I name them after like what the model name is. But I kind of like make it into a name. Like RG became Archie, and AX became Axel. So I've named some of my instruments like that. Eleanor, that's a good name. Spoder? Was there a Spoder? I don't think there was a Spoder. I think there was no spider. Dishwasher was named Bob by the company. Bob in big letters, and it felt fitting. Fair. We gotta go. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Ha ha ha. I won't let you leave here alive. I'm still a vampire for some reason. Oh, wait, do we... Oh, my God. Why are you in the air? Oh, you didn't want to push along. This is terrible. This is a third boss in a row, by the way. 4 if you count the second form of the Doctor, where I don't get to heal or save in between. What the fuck? Oh, I can hit the boss now. Oh, when he opens his terrible, terrible mouth, I see. Ow! Whoa. Only opens for a damn second, that's terrible. I'm getting hit by the... Oh, God. It's terrible. Did I kill Sue? I think I might have killed Sue. She's down. I don't know if she's dead down or if... I can see this game doing a thing where, like, you can kill them in this fight and they don't come back. Or you can try to beat the boss without killing them and they do end up being fine. Kind of a devious thing that this game would do. These missiles need to not. Okay, okay. Things have chilled out substantially from how they were a second ago. What it took was a little bit of killing. Ah, I can't shoot those, it turns out. Oh my god. A lot of attacks. Oh, you bastard! Really? Really, seriously? No save point, no heal. Oh my god, Ali, hello. That mouth is doing all kinds of terrible things that I don't want to have to deal with, but here we are. How you doing? Hope you're having a good weekend. I am bemoaning the presence of 4 final boss fights in a row. 3 to 4 final boss fights in a row in this damn game. Your guitar is Richard, but said in Danish. Is that like Rykard? Or is it something slightly different from that? Your loom is Hannah. Nice. Drop in a lurk. Oh, absolutely. Have a good D&D session. Please. It was quite rough. I'm not going to lie. Of all the things I've done, that was one of the more rough. David, hello. How you doing? I hope the weekend finds you well as well. Oh, I really want that. I really want that health. CC, thank you for the gift sub to David. And to... Oh my god. My vision is being pulled away. And David gifted to Ali. Oh my god. Thank you so much, guys, for sharing the love with each other. And also for the gift subs to me. That's money, that is. I can buy goods and services with that. Thank you for shouting at each other. We also love that. We love a bit of aggressive affection. David, I don't know if you saw when we raided when we were in Frog's stream and we raided Ali for the first time, which was your recommendation. Ali actually recognised my name from another stream that we both used to inhabit a lot. Who is currently like a year and a bit on hiatus, I guess. But that was a fun little bit of small Twitch world. Well, we found each other again through that. More money, Cece. Thank you for the 1 bit. My God, I will pay for some very specific good and or service with that. It was a wild moment. It was like, wait a minute, because I would say, like, I wish I could say, like, oh yeah, I recognise your name. I feel like I could say I recognise your name, but it would be very blurry because there's a lot of people in lots of Twitch channels that I've seen over the years. But yeah, it was a very fun little moment, and I miss Tiger Moth. She was great, and I hope she's doing well. I've heard she's doing well. She's working in games, which is great. Doing narrative stuff for EA, I think. On the bright side of this, I'll be so good at these fights by the time I'm done with them. It'll be a joke to me. A joke, I say. If I could come out net positive from this fight as well, that would be amazing. If I could recover more health than I lost. Well, that didn't happen, but maybe. Maybe another time. Sorry to break it to you like this, but you're cool. That's true. David speaks truths. I like the jingle. There's like a little fanfare jingle that plays when you beat a boss, and it makes perfect sense. It just sounds like a boss fight jingle. And then if you leave it and don't press like to continue, it plays again. Like, you beat him, and again, hey, every time. Oh, David's being complimentary and then leaving. Typical behaviour. Typical fiendish behaviour. Leave before someone can really hold you to account for your crimes. No, why? I jumped. I gave him the old jumperoo. Oh, Jesus. Okay. Got some small problems here. Oof. Okay. I think you're dead. You're dead, son. Ali, have a good D&D. Thank you for lurking. Jamie! The best indie game ever. Maybe. Maybe, Jamie. Maybe. It's very good. Very good. How you doing? Hope you're having a good weekend. Oh, immediately with the level down. Fantastic. What hit me there? Not the bats! There we go. There we go. A nice long night being a roadie. Awesome. I've been very... I had a very long... Well, I had a very long stream last night that went into this morning on Kelzaba's channel. Then we had a lot of sleep. Then I did a lot of work. Then I did a bunch of stream stuff. And now we're streaming and we're playing Cave Story, and it's a very good time. Thank you. This weekend is very cursed for you. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear it. Is it... I was going to say, is it bad kind of cursed? But I guess it... Is it like... very bad kind of cursed, or just kind of bad kind of cursed? Oh, this is how you're supposed to use this weapon! I see. I get it. I get it now. You hold it down and it shoots. Also out last night, or you would have loved to join. Kallax, yes. Kallax very late. Like, we stayed in the call until about 8 AM, I think. 7 AM. Yeah, it was a solid 8-hour stream, plus a bit of chatting afterwards. Yeah. Happens sometimes. Bad kind of... Oh, not bad kind of curse. That's not good. Actually bad. That's why it's called the bad kind of cursed, because it's bad. Kallax is so fun, and you think there was a bit of yeah, the brains rotted away slightly towards the end, but it's fine. It was all good. Got broken up with. Oh, I'm sorry, Eli. 1 million nosebleeds. Ooh, that's a little bit concerning. Like, one nosebleed is fine, but many nosebleeds is concerning. Back pain and now leg injury. I'm sorry. That's not fun. Not a good time. Eat some ice cream or similar. Just have some good, like, this is enjoyable time where I get to do something that's nice and comfy and pleasant. And watch me wreck this final boss. It's gonna happen. Gonna happen. You don't have ice cream. Is it... I was gonna say, is it too late for you to go buy some? It is in fact 2 AM, which I think is probably too late to go buy ice cream, tragically. But you never know. I don't know what 24-hour things you've got going on around there. There's a hotel not in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, where I stayed once on my first trip, which was literally above a 4 AM closing time convenience store. It was pretty rad. It's like, oh, what's that? You want a snack? There you go. It's right there. You may go get snack. And I used to have a 24-hour supermarket right near me, but tragically it is now a closes at midnight supermarket, which is not what I want. Oh my god. Can you open your damn mouth, you little shit? Can you please? Oh, leveled up and leveled down again straight away. Where the hell am I? I'm at the top of the screen. I lost myself completely there. A lot of projectiles flying around. Got a little bit rough for a second. Ow! That one projectile just happened to catch me. Jesus. Okay. Okay, some avoidance just happened there. Are you gonna... Can I do any damage to this guy? What's going on? What is happening here? Okay, I might have killed Sue. Might have killed Sue. Sorry about that. I feel like... I kind of have a vague memory of them not being dead in this fight, if you beat them. But thinking that last time I played it, which is to say 10 years ago. That was good. That was good. Why? Lost myself again. That was terrible. Oh, Jesus. Right, if I end up behind him, I actually can't attack him, which is a problem. Let me jump. Oh my god. Ah, the ones that bump into me are so annoying. Oh, fly above them, fly above them. We're good, we're good, we're good. We got this. So got this. Extremely got this. Look. Got it! Fuck yes. Whew! And we didn't kill Misery. Let's see if that matters. I destroyed the undead core. Okay. Oh, things... Okay, no, I didn't get to stop. I didn't get to press anything. Okay, we enjoy this sound for a second before I press to catch up on chat. Oh. Used to be able to buy ice cream at Walmart at 2 AM. No, you live in a 24-hour kiosk. Not able to walk. Well, fair enough, you just say your leg was hurting. I hope you have something that you can eat or do that is comfy and enjoyable. Maybe someone who's streaming. Maybe Carol. Go watch Carol. Carol's nice. That'll make you feel better. My hair is looking sleek. It has been told to become down, so it is down. It's not as down as it has been before. I can make it more down. But yeah, thank you. It is only hair. There's nothing going on with it. I have not put anything in it. It just looks like that. Walmart has the grocery store monopoly of the US South. Okay. I don't have like a geographical location for Walmart, but I know it's the big one in America, generally. Wally World. I am making you feel better. That doesn't sound right. Go watch Carol. Carol will make you feel better. Poseidon waves are very flowing. It has got a weird like wave to it. I don't know where that comes from. I was saying this before. I wear it in a bobble most of the time, and that obviously makes a bit of like a crimp around the bobble where it pinches and then it becomes kind of wavy out from there. But I don't know where the multiple waves are coming from. I never really had particularly wavy hair, so I'm not quite sure what causes that. It just sometimes ends up like that. Fuel level sufficient. We can depart any time. I never would have thought that we'd be able to safely get back to the surface. Why couldn't I read that? I wonder if those kids are safe or not. Nope. Nope. An earthquake. Something has happened to the core. Core blimey. Core blimey, governor. Oh no. The island's starting to collapse. At this rate, it's only a matter of time until this area collapses too. She's not dead. Good stuff. Haven't put anything in it. I haven't, no. I never do. Extreme EP, Jamie, please have a good sleep if you do crash out. I will speak to you soon, I'm sure. Have I ever tried to be a high pony boy? No, I don't like the feeling of the high ponytail. It kind of feels like it's in the way, or when I turn, I can kind of feel it moving a little bit. The low ponytail kind of sits against my neck and my shirt, so it doesn't feel like it is a little bit, if I try and lean my head back, like far, the low ponytail gets in the way a little bit, but I don't do that very often, so. The high ponytail never felt good to me. Can't believe Oscar hates you and I was asking you to leave to get super spoiled for Hollow Knight. Oh dear, is he playing Hollow Knight? Oh, what a bastard. Can't believe this. While I'm streaming. Outrageous behaviour. No, Eli, I want you to feel better, so I want you to go to a nice stream, a nice live stream somewhere. I don't know where. Carol maybe, or somewhere else. But find one and go there. Want to see High Pony Oscar? Well, if you would even put your hair up, I think we can do at least a momentary high ponytail to see how it do. But I'm going to request a redeem though, because that's you're requesting something of me there that is not natural. my method, I don't have any method for anything, Whitney. You may have not noticed I don't know what I'm doing on any level, with anything to be honest, but especially with hair. Curiosity, you're not trying to sway me to do it. Well, I'm always up for trying new things. Well, we're not believing when I say it. No, I get that, Eli. I'm doing a bit saying, like, surely this isn't a good place to go. Go find a good stream. But I understand. I am glad you're here. Do we own a brush? Listen. No, apparently. No, apparently not. No, I have two brushes. I don't know where they are. I think one of them's at the studio, actually. The other one should be around here somewhere, but I can't find it. I'm not banishing you. You're fine. It's fine. You're fine. Curious if I feel the same about the feeling if you put it up the way you do. Do you use a hair clip? I feel like you have a hair clip, right? Like pulling it up and then clipping it. Maybe. I don't like having clips in because it increases the size of my head, like my profile, and then I can't like put my head against things that I want to put my head against. So I can't see clips being preferred by me. I like the low ponytail because it's kind of like out of the way. It tucks the hair down. It doesn't kind of tend to get in the way of anything, and it just keeps the hair back and out of the way. Just the band, okay. I mean, I will perceive techniques and styles. I don't know if I could try and use them, but I literally just like get all your hair in a bobble and then twist it around, and then that's it. That's my entire strategy. And where my hands happen to go is like the base of my skull, I guess, like top of my neck, not high up on the back of my head. You can't see. I'm like gesturing to where I'm pointing, but you can't see because my hand is actually behind my head, funnily enough. But yeah, I'll do it this way so I can speak into the microphone. I have my hair, I tie it down like down here, like the back of my head, or back of my neck, rather than up anywhere around here. Because I don't like having that extra bulk that feels uncomfortable to me. Just nosy, but doing it without a brush and stuff for high pony, it seems like it would feel irritation. I do brush my hair. Not that much, but I do brush it. I mostly like just put my fingers through it like that to get rid of tangles, which is why it stays in a decent condition even though I don't brush it that much. But I do brush it from time to time. I'll either do like a proper marathon session and just brush it for like an hour while I'm doing something or watching something. Or I'll just try and get the ends to come out and straighten up. You've gotten teeth twice in a row. We'll see about that, won't we, Eli? We'll see about that, won't we? Never mind. We'll see about that later. Haircut hour with Oscar. Do not trust anything I say about hair ever, literally. Like I said before, I don't know what I'm doing. I get by. I manage by having high levels of stubbornness and tolerances for bullshit. Ayla, hello. How you doing? Use a brush to put it up. Has to be even and smooth or it pulls and you can't take the feeling of uneven pulling. Yes. No, I do get that feeling with a low ponytail sometimes, but I just correct it. I just tweak it and correct it. I don't need it to be like super tight. So if it's like pulling at one side a little bit, I'll just like loosen that side. I'll just pull that side back through the bobble a little bit so it releases the tension, and then the bobble will sit a little bit lower, but it's fine. You want Oscar to do the curly girl technique like you do and see how curly we can get it. I have never made any effort to curl, well, like I said, to do anything to my hair, really. But what a fun idea. That, I can see that being a fun, like, incentive for something. I've been slowly... Wait. Sorry. I assume Carol is not listening to me. There you go. Carol does have 25,000 teeth. Whitney, you have 13 wits. Well done. Yeah, unfortunately, Carol is the one who has the teeth. He's actually hoarded all the teeth for himself. It's a little bit problematic, but we'll let him slide. He's learning. He's, you know, he has the capacity to change and share his teeth with people. Which, actually, to be fair, he shares the teeth on his channel. In my channel, he has all the teeth because he takes them away to his channel where he gives them all out. So, it's not all bad. Yeah, what was I saying? About an incentive. So I've been cooking up a few little ideas for like a charity stream or subathon style incentives. And I've got some fun ones that I think would be good. I haven't got any plans to do it in the immediate future, but it's on the cards for a later sort of, what's the word? An event at some point down the line. If I have like a stream anniversary or affiliate anniversary or something, or a birthday thing, and I'm like, I want to do a big thing for this, then I've got a few ideas ready for how to go about that. And I will say, I do have my affiliate anniversary is in December, so it's coming up soon. Like, that's actually really soon. It's literally 5 weeks away, I think. So maybe not big. I don't think I'll do a big thing, but maybe I'll try and start doing occasional events and have a few set incentives for those, and doing some fun hair thing I think that's kind of a fun idea, because I've got a lot of hair and you can do a lot of stuff with it, and as long as it isn't like bleaching or something that's going to damage it, I'm up to try whatever. Honestly, I could try it myself, or I don't mind even doing like a thing where I go to a hairdresser and get something done with it, although I feel like a hairdresser would look at my hair and be like, ooh, it's split and it's bad condition and it's greasy. Just because I don't look after it very well. What have we got? Yeah, hi Ayla. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages. I've seen you in Extreme a little bit, but we miss Ayla. We love Ayla around here. There's Carol's teeth. Are fantastic. And Whitney's wits. Excellent. Oh, Jamie. So, Jamie, we have some things here. We have some events that can happen, and they can increase in various different ways. But you will you need to be paying attention, unfortunately, to catch them, because they will happen. They will happen, and if you miss them, they will be gone. But they're not pretty much always not restricted to a certain number of people or anything. If it happens, then everyone can get it. That's the idea, at least, if it all works. So yeah, if you can catch the events as they happen, then you may find ways to increase your various things. In his channel, you steal all the teeth. Sometimes, Eli, sometimes you steal the teeth. Sometimes I get the teeth, you know? That's how it goes. Swings and roundabouts. Can't believe how soon December is. Yeah, it's kind of coming up a little bit. I haven't actually thought about it until just now. But now I'm like, oh god, yeah. I've got birthdays in October that I have to deal with, so I kind of feel like once I get through October, then I start thinking about Christmas. Saw a Christmas commercial yesterday. Lurking so quiet like. We appreciate. We love a lurk. Always welcome to lurk as quietly as you like. Give myself a little trim to deal with split ends. I should, if I cared too much about them, but I don't really. Not for myself, at least. 0 teeth for Oscar. I don't know. There we go. I have 1 teeth now. Oh! Oh, I know why. There we go. Capitalise them. I've got to capitalise it. I should really run that command through the capitalisation script, but it's a pain in the ass to do. There we go. I have 1 teeth. I think that's... I'm happy with that, to be honest. I'm not greedy, you know. I'm not trying to take all the teeth for myself. Just sometimes they all end up coming to me. But right now, I'm happy with my 1 teeth. Nope, doesn't work. We tried... We tested this. We teeted this last stream. I made sure that you couldn't add stats to yourself. Because that would be terrible. That leads to, like, frog-style situations where you're stealing oodles from people. And that's no good. You deserve 1 too. I don't know, Eli. I don't know. Maybe if something happens that warrants you receiving teeth. Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, back to the game. Back to the very important game, which we're finishing right now, I think. So I guess cave story spoilers, ending spoilers. It's not like the spoileriest game, but it's a cool ending. Anyway, we need to escape. Let's go. What if I go this way? I see. That is in fact a wall. What if we go over here? Alright. Fine. Point taken. What if I go over here? There'll be a secret. There is no secret. Fair enough. This way! You'll be squished if you don't run fast enough. Maybe I don't fuck around here then. Yeah, I see the blocks falling. It won't open. Oh my god. Oh, the helicopter already went, the bastards. Can't believe they do this. Oh, it healed me before we came out of this sequence. Or came into this sequence. Interesting. Oh no, it's a dead end. We have to jump. I don't want to be smashed by the stones. Can you do it? Come on, jump as far as you possibly can. Huh. Let's go. The island, it's falling. Too dangerous to wait any longer. We need to leave now. Oh. It's all going tits up. You've got your head elderflower popsicle. That is a good comfort food. Was Curly moving there? I looked like she was moving for a second. I want to run the tape. You had a dream about me a couple of weeks ago that I was the owner of a clock repair shop. I don't remember much else other than you were quite happy to meet me in person. I'm very good at repairing clocks. Honestly, I've not really done anything like that, but whenever I've had any mechanical device and an excuse to take it apart, to like clean it or fix it, I've really enjoyed it. So I can kind of see myself enjoying something like that. clock repair or like mechanical repair of things. But that's nice. Honestly, Ella, I think I will try to come to America next year. And, you know, if I'm in the New England area, then I'm going to have to figure out all the people who live in the New England area who I can go and visit. So, it might be possible a little bit. We'll see. Wow, I don't think you were really going to do it. You destroyed the core. We probably won't be seeing the Doctor a second or third time thanks to you. Peace remains. Let's go home. This dragon! That's not what the dragon normally looks like. The dragon normally looks like a dragon, but it's fucking Falkor from the Neverending Story. Yeah, that's what the dragon normally looks like. This Halloween thing is wild. What a fun way to finish the game. And look, King with the V for Vendetta mask. Jack with the pumpkin on his head. I saw that earlier. Kanpachi with the Darth Vader outfit. Santa with the Santa outfit. Excellent. Oh, Curly with the Metroid suit. That's awesome. I love it. And the Mimiga kids with the quotes, the quote costume. That's great. Jenka with the witch thing. The dogs with like scientist outfits on. That's wild. They just reskinned every sprite in the game and like every background as well. I didn't even recognise some of them because their sprite was different from last time I saw them. Misery's Morrigan from Darkstalkers. That's so cool. Balrog's like some kind of Hulk guy. Not quite sure if that's meant to be anyone in particular. Oh, I don't think I saw those. The Sculptor. I don't think I saw the Sculptor either. But I'm assuming that's not what the Sculptor normally looks like, because he looks like Gizmo from Gremlins. But every game of bats. Look at these skins, they're so cool. Basil. That white thing that kills you instantly is called Basil. How appropriate. I have so many people to visit. And what's nice is that a lot of them are focused around the New England area. Especially if I go like New England to New York. So there's a lot of people I want to see there. But then, you know, Whitney's down in the south. And I've got people in the Midwest and in California. And it's just like, I have to make this awful choice between going to America and doing this ridiculously long, convoluted tour across the whole country. Which is really, like, that's a lot of commitment of, like, that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of, like, travel. It's going to be really hard. But if I don't do that, then I go to America, I go to New England area and see friends there. And then I leave, and I'm going to go back to America again, do a whole second trip. Which surely is more effort, more travel, more time, more money than going around America on a big tour. So I have to commit this big visit, which is really hard with like life commitments that I have. Or do multiple US trips, which is really difficult. Because it's going to cost so much more money then, and be so much more... yeah, many more instances of logistical difficulty. But I'll do it at some point. I will get around to it. It's finished, Eli. We did it. We beat it. Popsicle or ramen first? Surely you eat the ramen first because it is savoury, and then you have the popsicle. That seems only fair. But this is a comfort night for you. You should make yourself comfortable and do what you like. Been paying attention to the game at all for obvious reasons, but part of you is like, okay, you have to play this game. It's really good. Oh, in October because of the skins. I mean, you haven't got much time left, unfortunately. Do it next year, maybe?